And ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome here to Daily Field at Averett University's North Campus here in Danville, Virginia. And we have got a real slobber knocker on schedule tonight. We've got the Monarchs of Methodist University taking on your Averett University Cougars. I'm Davin Wilson. I'm joined here today by the incomparable, the man, the myth, the legend, Eddie Glenn Jr. Eddie, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. What an introduction, but it's an honor being able to broadcast with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I tell you, we're kind of partners in crime here, at least for soccer and football. So, and Eddie, we've got two teams coming in here today that are really, they didn't get their non-conference schedules were not very kind to them. They played some very tough teams. But they've come in here. USA South Conference play has started now, and Eddie, this is where it matters. This is where it matters. You can be 3-7 at the end of the season, but now, of course, if you're 3-7, you're probably not. Conference record's not that good, but it's that conference record is what matters. And really, though, you've got a tale right now of two different teams. You got Averett riding high off that 19-7 victory last week against Ferrum, where their defense and special teams just dominated. Tariq Abel had 2 interceptions, returned one for a 76-yard touchdown return. Then they had a blocked field goal and 2 blocked punts, and the blocked punt actually ended up getting scooped up for B.J. Robbins for a 57-yard return, and it was Nicholas Mintz actually getting in there with the blocks for the Cougars. Averett is coming in 1-2 in today's game after winning the aforementioned game against Ferrum, 19-7. And Eddie, it was really a defensive and special teams battle. Averett only 99 yards of total offense all afternoon, but they were able to put together 19 unanswered points to start off the third quarter, and that really set the momentum. But Eddie, that game actually went into halftime tied at 0. And, Eddie, being a former football player yourself, you know how rare that is.
And it's extremely rare. You go, and it's good in some senses if you're because, the scoreboard always says 0-0, but you can always tell if you're winning or losing a game. But going into half as a coach with the score tied, especially at 0-0, you get to come out, restart, refresh, and come out with a whole new game plan if you need to. So, 0-0 is rare, but it can work for your benefit if needed. And
it did. It worked for Averett's benefit very much so. And really, I was talking with Coach Adams after the game, and one of the things that he really commented on was the fact of offensive coordinator Shannon Johnson. He was not rushed at all in his play calling, very methodical drives for the Cougars. Of course, they only got actual one scoring touchdown. I believe it was a 3-yard pass from Christian Miles to Jeremiah Smith, and it was Miles' actually first touchdown pass in an Averett uniform, so that was a big moment there for him for the junior transfer. And, really right now, Averett only the one USA South Conference game, but they do come in 1-0 in the conference. Methodist comes in 0-3 overall, 0-1 in the conference. And, Eddie, they really had a heartbreaking loss last week against LaGrange College. Led by as many, I believe, as it was 9 or 10. Getting late into the third quarter, LaGrange comes back, scores 28 unanswered points, and really starts. They built a 17-point lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Methodist did come back, rattle off 8 consecutive points of their own, albeit one of those was a LaGrange safety where LaGrange basically just kneeled the ball in the end zone more or less at the end of the game for a 39-30 score. So, as we were talking about, it was Averett's defense and special teams that ruled the roost last week, as it was Tariq Abel who recorded 2 interceptions, returned one for a 76-yard score. Also, Nicholas Mintz, as we mentioned earlier, he blocked a pair of Cullen King punts, one of them setting up a 57-yard touchdown return by B.J. Robbins. The Cougars' offense, of course, is still struggling a little bit. They have 2 young quarterbacks in Joshua Eubanks and Christian Miles. So both of these guys still trying to find their rhythm right now. But, to their credit, they went up against a very stout, defensive-minded Ferrum team last week. And Ferrum did a good job only holding them to only allowing 99 yards of total offense. But as I mentioned earlier, Adams was happy with offensive coordinator Shannon Johnson's play calling and, willingness to just chip away at the Panthers' defense. And, Eddie, one of the things, of course, being a football player yourself, that, every week coaches draw up different schemes, whether it's for special teams or for defense or for offense. And, Adams really credited the different schemes that were drawn up by special teams coordinator David Clark, for the Cougars' success in that department. The Cougars also, one of the big notes, we were talking about Ferrum's defense, and Averett's defense held up quite well last week, too. They now have 5 total takeaways on the season through 4 games. Also, they held the USA South Rookie of the Year running back Brian Giles to 114 yards and also kept him out of the end zone. And Eddie, we were here a couple weeks ago for the Randolph-Macon game. I was up at the Hamden-Sydney game. To open up the season. And both of Averett's losses have come at a combined average of 3.5 points. So, Eddie, being a former football player yourself, does that average, does it give you confidence knowing that you can hang with the best teams, or does it really, kind of light a fire and put a chip on your shoulder?
And both. It does both. It lets you know, okay, we're here. All we got to do is one more touchdown. One more field goal, one more extra point. It's always little things when you pull up huddle and you watch what you're doing, watch what your team's doing. Okay, we missed this block on counter left. We could have got that. Bowman's going for another 100 yards. And like you said, it also gives you a chip on your shoulder. We're going to win. Why aren't we winning these games? We should be winning these games. They're sitting here thinking, okay, we should be 3-0 right now. Like you said, an average of, 3.5 points.
3.5 points.
They're 1-0 in conference right now. Time to almost, like you say, reset their record. If they go undefeated in conference, those 2 losses almost mean nothing. So they're going to look to build upon those 2 losses in that average. Like you said, speaking on the game plan, every game, a credit to you and a credit to offensive coordinator, every game is going to be a Lamar Jackson-esque game where you throw for 500 and run for 300 from the quarterback position and all of that flash. Some games are going to be Alabama-like where you run the ball, and rely on your defense like they did at Ferrum. And I think for Averett to win football games, they have to rely on this defense, which is proven to be a stout defense so far, Davin. They're going to have to lean on this defense and then put the ball in the hands of Bowman and Bigelow, and they're going to have to start using play action more. I think Averett could use a lot more play action and really keep the other team's defense, in this case Methodist, on their toes and keep them honest.
And you're right, Eddie, and with such a, kind of explosive running game, it really does open up for play action and a lot of screen and a lot of draw plays. And, Bigelow, they have gone to Bigelow in the past. They have gone to Bowman in the past with a quick little screenplay on the left or screenplay on the right, and just trying to get those 2 guys behind their blockers, because once they do that, it's amazing what those 2 young men can do on the field. So, Eddie, we're going to take a look here. We're going to do a rundown of Methodist season so far here on the URW pregame show. Methodist comes into the game 0-3, as we mentioned, riding the curtails of a crushing 39-30 defeat to LaGrange College in its USA South opener. As I mentioned, too, the Monarchs led by as many as 9 when Amante Deers scored on a 6-yard run. LaGrange's offense, though, answered back with 4 consecutive scores to swell its lead to 39-21 when Nicholas Scarcey opened up the field and scored on a 25-yard scamper. Methodist, however, rattled back with 9 consecutive points to lead to the final score. And one thing that is going to be key in this game, I was at the game last year in Fayetteville, and one of the players I was very impressed with for Methodist was their quarterback, Steve Keone. He completed 18 passes for 186 yards and recorded 2 touchdown tosses and an interception last week, while Deers led the Monarchs' rushing attack with 70 yards and a score, and Dylan Cummings picked up 98 yards and a score on 6 receptions, while Xavier McNeil caught 9 passes for 65 yards. So, Eddie, we're going to take a quick dive into the series here. Averett leads the series, which dates back all the way to 2000, Cougars' first year in existence as a football program, by a 9-8 edge. The series is tied at 4 when played at Averett. Averett won last year's meeting 28-14 on November 19th at Methodist in Fayetteville, North Carolina. The Cougars outscored the Monarchs 21 1-0, in the second half to overcome a 14-7 halftime deficit. And Eddie, we were talking about the youth at the quarterback position for the Cougars. It was actually Joshua Eubanks came into the game after Joshua Long kind of struggled a little bit. He threw for 154 yards and 2 scores while turning in a 13 for 33 performance. Sean Bowman, of course, no surprise here, led the Cougars rushing attack with 125 yards and 2 scores. And Deers also had a big game for the Monarchs, picking up 122 yards and a score on 24 carries. And Adams is actually unbeaten against Methodist in all 3 of his first games, including a 41-33 shootout victory in 2015 at Daly Field. And Eddie, that was my second year over here at Averett as an assistant sports information director. And you know, we didn't have this nice press box then. We were still on the other side of the field. If you're watching, which you can still see, the little wooden shack. Looks like a bad seafood restaurant. But either way, you know, it was an absolute thrilling game. Methodist had plenty of opportunities to tie the game up there near the end. They got the ball down into the red zone several times, but always found a way to shoot itself in the foot with senseless penalties. So, Eddie, you know, just looking here right now, you know, Eubanks and Bowman are really going to have to get things going. And we're going to make sure that we're not in the middle of the national anthem here. I believe this is going to be the alma mater, the singing of the alma mater. And, yes, it is. So, Eddie, we'll keep going for a little bit longer here. But Averett really was picked 5th in the 2017 USA South Conference preseason poll, while the Monarchs were picked 7th. Bowman continues to make his push towards the top of the career marks. His 1,692 career rushing yards now ranks 2nd all-time, and his 22 rushing touchdowns is also 2nd in the record book. He currently leads the USA South in rushing yards, 335 a game. Rushing yards per game, 335 total rushing yards. Rushing yards per game, 111.7 per game, and is 5th in yards per rush with 5.6 a game. And Eddie, junior linebacker Dejon Brooks, has recorded double-digit tackles in each of his first 3 games this season. He leads the conference with 37 tackles, tops the list in solo tackles. While for the Monarchs, Deers has a team-high 175 rushing yards and also leads the team in rushing scores. Kiani is hot on Deers' heels, though, with 111 rushing yards. And we're going to take a quick pause for today's prayer and national anthem, but we'll kick it right back here on the Averett Sports Network. And ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank AU Chaplain Skylar Daniels for his wonderful prayer. And then, of course, you've got to give it up for the Averett Singers, directed by Ann Lewis, for singing the alma mater and the national anthem. So, Eddie, picking up where we left off, receiving-wise, McNeil leads Methodist with 174 receiving yards, while Dylan Cummins leads the team in TD receptions with 2. Also, both teams' offenses are a bit anemic so far at this point in the season, with the Monarchs averaging 15.7 points per game, and the Cougars 16.3. And speaking of the Cougars, the cage is open by the fieldhouse. Cleve Adams leading his squad in. Adams, the trademark sweater vest, blue shirt, and khakis. You see it every single game except for homecoming, and then he's got on those crazy blue and yellow diamond checkered pants. Have you seen those yet, Eddie?
I have last year, and I look forward to seeing them again this year. And like you say, the dress is a staple for Coach Adams, almost like the Bill Belichick hoodie or the Nick Saban polo and khakis. And it's something you expect to see every time, and he's going to do it consistently every Saturday. So
sports is, I don't care what sport you're playing, it's all a thing of superstition and tradition. And I know coming in here today, I listened to the same song I listened to walking into Ferrum last week, hoping that might kind of give them an extra push over here over the top. And, you know, Eddie, one of the things I was talking with some of the Averett coaching staff last night, and, you know, we all went out to dinner after the volleyball game last night. And, you know, one thing that I noticed is that, you know, talking with a lot of the coaching staffs, Methodist has been in a little bit of an upheaval here recently as far as the coaching staff and also player personnel. In fact, Eddie, in the game last year, the final game of the season against the Cougars, pretty much the whole entire senior staff for Methodist decided they didn't want to play anymore and quit. So Methodist, I think, automatically right there was shot down to about 40 players for the game. And a lot of the coaching staff is what they were saying, if they can get to Methodist early and get Methodist rattled and get their head out of the game, then they should be able to prevail victorious in this game today. And Eddie, you know, being down on the field and with the experience that you have playing the game, you know, there's a saying in a Little Giants movie that, you know, the game is 50% physical, 50% mental, something like that. You know, is that a true statement, or is it really more mental than physical?
I think it's a lot more mental than physical, especially, like you say, Methodist, their last game, they were up by as many as, 17 points? 9 points, excuse me. 9 points. They were up as many as 9. And then LaGrange came back and battled back and stormed through there the third and fourth quarter. Football teams train in a weight room more for the mental aspect than the physical aspect, because you're going to push through and push through. Yes, it may hurt, but can you mentally push through? Because on the football field, we need you when you're down and out, hurt and tired in the fourth quarter to push through and play like you did in the first quarter. So, you know, it's a lot more mental than physical, because anybody can go on the field, put on pads, and run around and hit people. But it's, do you know what you're doing? Can you battle through it? And, you know, there's another saying. You're not always – there's a difference in being hurt and injured. And being injured means you can't play. Being hurt means you can get back out there. So, you know, it's a lot more mental than physical, I would say.
Yeah, and you know, that's really one thing. Methodist had of course, longtime coach. I believe he had been there 6 years. Goss left after the 2015 season, leaving, you know, the gap to be filled right there. And, you know, Eddie, I think this is just one thing about college athletics, you know, especially, and really probably athletics in general, but especially with college athletics, because, you know, you're always looking for that next job. You're always looking, you know, for that next step up the ladder, the next rung up the ladder. And, you know, I think, you know, you definitely deal a lot more with turnover from a staff and personnel standpoint than what you do in the pros. So it looks like the Monarchs will be kicking off to start things off here. So as we said, Averett looking to pick up its fourth consecutive win against the Monarchs.
And as he said, Davin, special teams playing a huge factor. Another thing in football is if you can win special teams and win the turnover battle, you're almost destined to win the football game. A lot of teams don't focus on special teams, but the ones that do win football games.
And that's one thing that we really saw yesterday. And Methodist using a little bit different of formation there as they line up. That almost looked like a volleyball formation. trying to defend against the middle attack. So here we go. And we are just about underway. There's the kick, ball in the air. It's going to be taken by the Cougars at about the 11-yard line. And the ball is loose.
Ball still on the ground. It looks like it might have been scooped up by an Averett player.
Methodist, of course, is saying they have it. We will see. Cannot see because of the glare who that was on the return.
Ball goes to Averett.
And so Averett dodging the early bullet right there as I believe it was Bigelow with the return. It was Bigelow on the return, and he got a nice shot. Ball pops out, and Averett keeping their focus. And Eddie, that speaks a lot of what we were talking about, that mental aspect of it. And instead of a turnover, it actually results in a 15-yard kick return, which not the best numbers in the world, but it sure beats a turnover.
Absolutely, and they're on the 26. So, I mean, not bad, position, but you would have liked to go without the stress of having a fumble on the field. Nevertheless, we're out on offense, and
we got a double backfield between Bigelow and Bowman. Bigelow on the far left side. Bowman in motion. I believe that one went to Bigelow, and I think he wrestled his way for about a 4-yard gain right there.
Christian Miles is starting at quarterback this year.
And Christian Miles really had a solid game. He's a little bit taller than Eubanks. It's a little bit easier for him to see over that line and really be able to see the coverage. So I believe it's Bigelow in the backfield. Averett with trips right, or trips left, excuse me. Actually, Bennett now in motion. He goes back.
Play action. They were running a little bit of like a spacing play there, trying to find Bigelow on the hitch route, but
I believe it was a late hit too on Miles, and that's gonna
passer there, yeah.
That results in a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. And it looks like they are trying to count it off here, or maybe just trying to figure out what the penalty is. But it looked like roughing the passer from up here as Miles took a hit after the play. And there it goes. They're starting to count it off. It looked like they had started to line up there, Eddie, and that was going to leave me a little confused.
I was going to be absolutely confused.
So that's going to move it up to the Averett 44-yard line. So second play from the line of scrimmage results in a 15-yard roughing the passer penalty. And, Eddie, that's one thing that they are being very strict on this year, while being a little bit looser on roughing the passer. Or, roughing the kicker. And it looks like Bowman there with the carry.
Coming from up under center. Now, something Averett usually does, but they sent the tight end in motion and put him at more of a fullback position, sent it right up the B hole. But Bowman not able to find anything.
So it looked like Bowman maybe about a half a yard there, if anything. It's actually going to be ruled a gain of 1. So 2nd and 9 for the Cougars. Ball on their own 45. Bowman once again in the backfield, I believe, for the Cougars. Averett with 2 wide receivers. Actually, trips left. Did not see the middleman right there.
And that's a little screen. Averett likes to run their screens, runs, and swings. Very popular in the Averett offense.
They really
to have the screens work, you have to have numbers. You always want to catch the defense off guard. If you have 3 corners and 3 receivers, your screen almost isn't going to work unless you leave this backside corner unblocked. So you have to have really good blocking to run that screen, and it didn't look like they did that time, so it didn't work. And it brings up 3rd and 9.
Methodist lining up in man coverage right now. And there's a run, and I think it's going to be about a gain of 3. Will not be enough for the Cougars, for a Cougars first down. And even with Westbury's big leg, I think this would be a little bit too much to ask of the sophomore kicker.
It's a lot to ask of an NFL kicker.
It is. I think at this point you'd be looking at what, about a 70-yard kick probably, 65?
65-yard kick roughly. So they're going to put it on the boot of the punter. try and pin them deep and rely on the defense.
So it looks like Easter is back from Methodist. Pretty decent punt. Is going to take a bounce and rest at about the 26-yard line in Methodist. So Methodist, both teams starting off in their own territory here. And Methodist is a team that can provide some offense, as we were talking about. They've got the incredible running back in Deers. Then they've also got McNeil, and then they've got Dylan Cummings. And Eddie right now holding the edge in rushing averages is Averett, as they are averaging 150 yards per game at Methodist 74.7. There's the first play from the line of scrimmage for the Monarchs.
Comes out, and it is scooped up by an Averett player, Davin, and that is on the 29-yard line by number 1 Kevin Norcott, coming and scooping the fumble up from the safety position. Davin really running the alley. The ball was stopped on the line of scrimmage, and Norcott scooping the ball up on the line of scrimmage from the safety position about 15 yards away. He come running in. So now Averett in very favorable field position.
They are, and, Norcott is one of those kids. His wheels do not quit. I believe that is his second takeaway of the year. He had an interception in the game against Hampden-Sydney. And now picking up the fumble recovery here. So Averett taking over, just needing about 26 yards for pay dirt. Line up with two receivers on the left, double backfield. Running out of the shotgun, and that's going to be a
fumble from Averett. And it looks like Methodist will get on top of this one.
And that was an option play right there, and I think perhaps Miles maybe just waited maybe a little bit too late to get rid of that one. And
Methodist ball.
So just like that, a turnover for a turnover, an eye for an eye.
And Davin, I could fully expect both coaches on either sideline to be going absolutely ballistic. That's 3 fumbles in the first 3 minutes of this game from both teams. 2 going for turnovers, 1 recovered by the respective team. Both coaches going ballistics. You've got to have the ball high and tight. If you're going to pitch it. Don't put it on the ground.
That's it. And, Eddie, it almost, too, looked like he had maybe gotten a little bit too far ahead of, I believe it was Miles he was looking to pitch to right there.
Play action. And an interception. That is DeJon Brooks. And Davin, the all-star linebacker for the Cougars, who switched positions from the D-line last year, stepped back and played linebacker for an interception, a 3rd turnover of the game in the first 3 minutes of the game.
And, Eddie, this is one thing I'm talking about, this Averett defense. They are ball hawks. This Averett team, I believe this is 7 takeaways now, and you're looking in 4 games, so you're almost averaging 2 takeaways per game. And this Averett defense is just really something to watch. Averett will take over on the Methodist 17-yard line.
And Davin, in my 14 years of playing football and my almost 20 of covering football, I've never seen 3 takeaways in 3 minutes. As Bowman gets the ball, he's going to find some space up the middle. Keeps his feet churning, he's going to get about to the 15-yard line. But I've never seen 3 turnovers in 3 minutes.
That is quite a feat right there, and it looks like Bowman maybe about 5 yards, give or take, on that carry. And so Miles with the call. And now it looks like actually it's going to be number 11. Miles is still in the game, excuse me. Got my numbers confused there for a second. So Miles. And handoff to, I believe it was Bowman. Bowman not as successful on that run as he was the last one, but still out for, looks like about a gain of 3.
And Gavin, expect a play action motion here and then go with a slant route or a corner route here. That's what I would expect if I'm the Methodist defensive coordinator. And,
Eddie, I tell you one thing. You took the words right out of my mouth. We've seen Averett run the corner route once they get down in the red zone before, and it's going to be interesting to see if this is going to be a false start or offsides.
That will completely change the game plan.
Looked like the ball was thrown, or the flag was thrown in. Actually, it was thrown right on the line of scrimmage, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to figure out who this is going against.
And it will be an offsides.
And that's one thing that Coach Adams has definitely stressed to his team is, avoid the penalties and everything. And, of course, this time the penalty will work for the Cougars' favor as it gets down into the 5-yard line. Spot foul on the play.
Everyone in the box for Methodist except the corners.
You think they're expecting a run, Eddie?
And Averett gives them what they want. And Bowman he'll actually lose a little bit of yardage there, trying to find some space.
Eddie, at this point, you've got Miles Bennett, who he's quick. Do you maybe try a little end around or something like that, switch it up, or?
I would definitely an end around, try a bubble screen, something to just get the ball in his hands. Methodist has 9 people in the box. You've got 5 blockers. I don't know if you can keep giving it to Bowman in these type spaces with that many defenders. You've got to throw the ball.
You do, and Eddie, as well as I do, that red zone just shrinks dramatically.
And they will hand it off to Bowman again. Bowman.
And Bowman's in. Bowman's in for the 3-yard scamper, and Averett out to the early 7-0 advantage here. That's a good start, the start that the Averett coaching staff was talking about yesterday. Come out here and get Methodist down early, kick them while they're down, keep them down, and then let the Monarchs kind of self-destruct on their own. And it's a 6-0 lead early on as Westbury lines back for the PAT. You see the Averett coaching staff down there trying to keep their players out of the coach's box down there. No, don't want an unnecessary sideline penalty.
And the Cougars will take the first lead of the game, 7-0 after teams giving the ball back and forth to each other. Neither offense won the balls. They kept giving it to either team's defense. And the Cougars decided we're going to put it in the end zone this time.
And Averett, getting off to that early start right there. And, one thing that I've noticed with Miles so far is Miles doesn't do a terrible job of throwing the ball. I think maybe just work on his timings on the routes a little bit, get him a little bit more comfortable, get him a few more reps in practice, and we might see the development of an Averett passing game before the end of the season.
And that option pass fumble really comes with chemistry. You said he's a transfer, so he's not really had time to – of course, he's been at practice. He's not had the time to really develop a chemistry with those running backs to get their spacing right on those option plays. And there might have been like a yard difference from what they run in practice where the running back carried a little bit. But, I think he'll come back from that. You've got to forget it as a quarterback, They say all quarterbacks have to have short-term memory loss.
Mm-hmm.
Make a bad play and come back out and, perform well. So I think he will.
They do, and Eddie, the option is such a hard play, is such a hard system to run, a hard play to run, and you even see teams like Georgia Tech who are built on the triple option attack struggling. Not a terrible return, but there's a fumble, and it looks like Averett is going to jump on it again. They will. I believe that was number 56.
And that's Nicholas Mintz's 56.
And Mintz.
Special teams player of the week. And Davin, I'm actually an RA back on campus, and he's on my hall. He keeps promising me big game after big game after big game, and he's producing another big-time special teams play from Mintz.
And definitely so right there. And, really just a big play defensively for the Cougars. And they're going to start at the Methodist 20. So Eubanks is going to keep it on the draw. Eubanks has got some space on the right side. Hustles down. It's going to come up about 3 yards short.
And it's actually Miles there on the scamper, number 11.
Excuse me, not Eubanks. I'm still getting the numbers down, Eddie. Thank you for the correction there.
Outside backer went and obliterated the running back, and Miles took it and got about 6 there on that quarterback keep.
And Miles being a tall guy, lanky, he can keep those feet moving. He can see. He has good vision on the field, and so why not? And
up the middle.
And Eddie, did you notice the little misdirection there from Miles that kind of maybe threw the Methodist defense off a little bit?
Absolutely. And as a coach, every play you kind of want to – most plays you're going to have your quarterback do something to keep the defense on their toes, pause those linebackers from moving so quick. And back to Bowman. Bowman's going to find an alley and put it in the end zone for the second touchdown of the game. Cougars lead 13-0. Bowman's second touchdown in the first quarter.
I tell you one thing, and that's going to be key for Methodist if they're going to stop this Averett attack. And, you know, Eddie, one thing that I've noticed as well so far is a lot of the times, especially early on, first and second down, Johnson really goes more halfback isolation, kind of run between the tackles. But it really seems like this time it seems like Johnson and Adams are trying to spread out the field, work east to west instead of north to south.
And Westbury will put it through the uprights. 14-0, Cougars lead early in this game. And Davin, in soccer they say 2-0 is the worst lead to have. You get lackadaisical, you get happy. And in football it's almost the same thing. You get up 14-0 early, you've got 2 touchdowns, you're thinking we're on top of the world right now. Nothing can stop us. But Averett has to keep their head in the game here. Don't get head over heels and keep playing like you did when you first came out. And that way you can build upon this lead and don't let Methodist find little gaps here and there. And,
Eddie, you know, there was a saying that me and my roommates had at Radford. We'd always walk down to the see a basketball game, but there was a big hill going down to our apartment, and we would always be very careful walking down, and we had a saying, don't get cocky. Because if you did, you'd slip, and it was not fun sliding down that hill. So, you know, just a second your emotion right there. So, Averett lining up on the kick. It looks like it's going to be number 1 and number 7 back. McCracken and Easter, it looks like, back. And McCracken is going to take that one into the end zone. He finds some space and down to the 21. But Eddie McCracken there just kind of left out on an island. Really no blocks there to get behind.
Absolutely. Methodist offense will look to get something going here. They've not been on the field for more than one play at a time in this entire game. So they've got to get something going. Expect a couple short runs, something up the middle, just trying to get their offense going, confidence that they can at least keep the ball and not commit a turnover.
That's it. And, I mean, they've got Deers. They've got Deers who is effective at running the ball. It actually looks like he is in the backfield right now, number 11. And that's Deers right there.
And he stays on his feet. Looking at about a 25-yard scamper from that big-time running back. Deers, as you were saying, just on your cue, Davin.
He did. Maybe I need to keep my mouth shut next time. So an official 23-yard gain there from Deers, and that's going to result in Methodist's first down. It looks like Deers is once again in the backfield.
And they go right back to him. Same looking play, 7-yard gain. And it looks like there's a man down that's Alex Roque for Methodist.
He's 6'1" senior, 290 pounds. Can you imagine the type of hit that he had to take for him to be like that? Of course, with this heat, it looks like it is probably just a cramp right now.
Yeah, and the good thing is he's moving around. He's able to hop up to his feet, as you see there. And like you said, it's just a cramp. Now he's running off the field, so go and get him some mustard, some pickle juice.
Good old Southern remedies, right, Eddie?
Be back on in the next few plays.
Well, you know, I was at a high school game last week, and I believe there was 7 passing plays the whole entire game. And having to chase a bunch of 17-year-old kids up the field at my age, you know, I caught a cramp too, Eddie. So it's going to be 2nd and 4.
Steve Keone in at quarterback for Methodist.
Ball on Averett's 49.
And back to Deers they go. Third straight time, third same play.
Got what, about 5 yards you'd say there, Eddie? 4 yards?
First down.
So, Eddie, you called it perfectly. You said, you know, just some easy runs, and right now they're going, you know, putting the ball in the hands of Deers and just letting Deers get behind his blockers and just go down. Of course, Methodist right now does have 4 wide receivers on the field, so we'll see.
And a fumble on the play. Averett will get the ball. Again, Methodist, yet another turnover. Averett, this ball-hawking defense, as you said, giving Coach Adams the ball again.
And that was Victor Miller on the recovery. Did not see who it was on the strip, but Averett's defense getting into the backfield, putting the pressure on Keone, and that led to a turnover, and Averett will take over on its own 48-yard line, looking to go up a quick 3 scores.
And I think Coach Steve Johnson, or Coach Shannon Johnson, the offensive coordinator, is going to be buying this defense dinner tonight, keeping his offense on the field and letting them put points on the board. Miles snaps the ball to give it to Bowman. Bowman looking for space, about a 3-yard gain there.
And, Averett had their 3 wide receivers out on the flanks on the right side, but I think Methodist could probably take a look at that play and say, okay, they're not going to try to do all this on first down.
Absolutely.
So 2nd and 8 now, ball at the 49. 2nd and 7, excuse me.
And that was almost like a botched play there. Miles was looking for like a play action type movement, but there was none there. Just a pitch to Bowman. Bowman trucks his way out of bounds. About another 3-yard gain.
Hey, nickel and dime them, right, Eddie?
Absolutely. If you get 3 yards every 4 downs, that's a first down.
Hey, there you go. They don't all have to be big plays. Bowman once again in the backfield, standing to the left of Miles. Bennett in motion. There's the snap. And Miles is going to keep that, dumps it off, and big hit right there as the pass was intended for, I believe it was Jeremiah Smith. And Smith kind of bobbled it for a minute, then was hit. And that one almost looked like it was almost kind of a little underthrown there. So Westbury will come on to punt.
And on that last play, they motioned Bennett to see if Methodist was in man coverage or not, and that really tells Miles who he's throwing to. And Smith, you have to think he was expecting the ball, just, either the ball was thrown a little bit slower than expected or not. Nevertheless, he bobbled it, and that's a great punt by Westbury.
Oh, and that's going to pin Methodist within their own 10-yard line, behind their 10. Looked like went at about the 9. So you're looking at about a 35-yard punt there by Westbury. So, Eddie, we were talking about special teams. That's what you want out of your punter in that situation. You don't want the touchback. You don't want to give them the ball at the 20 or the 25, or excuse me, the 20, because the ball goes out of bounds on a kickoff. We all know it's a penalty. But giving the ball, back in deep in Methodist territory rather than, setting Methodist up at the 20. So Methodist working with the long field right now. We'll see what it can do.
And a change at running back for Methodist. This would be number 7, Trevan Esther.
So the 5'9" freshman coming in at 185.
And we'll give him the ball. He doesn't find much. That play goes nowhere and nowhere quick, Davin.
And Eddie, 5'9", 5'10". You thinking that's about the perfect height for a running back?
It's almost perfect. Not too much leg, not no leg at all. So you can get those wheels moving and get up and down the field, able to put weight on very proportionally. You don't want them too tall or too short. So that's your prototype height there for a running back.
So Methodist lining up in shotgun formation.
Trips right. A little hitch route.
And pass complete to Josh Carter, the 5'11", 210 junior. Looks like it's going to be about a gain of 6. So that's going to bring up 3rd and short. 3rd and 2. Looks like Deers is back in the game here. Let's see if Averett focuses in on him. They are stacked in the box.
Methodist ran what we call a freeze play, tried to get the defense to jump off sides. Averett, D-line, eyes on the ball, very disciplined. Now I would expect something of the same play that we just saw, another hitch route.
And we've got a delay of game on the Monarchs.
And that will change the play call with a 5-yard penalty.
So now instead of 3rd and 2, you're now looking at 3rd and 7 from your own 13-yard line. Of course, Methodist defense has been able to step up and get a couple of big stops on its own. There's the pass over the middle. Found his guy, but it's going to be broken up by number 21, Tyreek Abel. And Abel came over from Guilford College. Defensive coordinator Treason Burnett from Guilford came to Averett from Guilford. And when they brought him when Burnett came to Averett, Abel went with him. And we are definitely grateful for that, as Abel had a big season last year in his first year in an Averett uniform. So Bowman back. You can always tell Bowman because of the dreads coming out from under the helmet.
It's actually going to be safety. Kevin Norcott, does that ball look like it might have been tipped? And Norcott will catch this ball on the bounce and get a couple more yards.
And that almost kind of looked like a borderline late hit there. Coming in from number
there is a Methodist
31.
Player down.
And Eddie, if you spend any time down on that field, you know how hot it gets, you know how muggy it gets. And
it looks like that's DeCalvis Butler, a freshman wide receiver.
And it looks like he just got cramped up a little bit.
Hydration, a big part of football, something people really take for granted and don't focus on as much as they do reading their playbook, when I think you should spend just as much time hydrating as you do reading your playbook, because if you're cramped up, that means you can't be on the field.
That's it. And, Eddie, too, plus on top of that, I mean, this is a Methodist team that really, relies somewhat on its running game. So you don't want to have guys catching cramps. And one thing I've always been told about cramps, too, along with water, potassium, a lot of bananas, stuff like that are good for cramps, good to prevent cramps.
You see guys drinking a whole lot of Pedialyte. That works just as well. In the motion across, off to Bowman. Bowman's going to find some space, and he trucks his way almost to a first down.
Actually, I think he did get the first down, Eddie. It looked like him. No, of course, no. They are going to keep the chains where they're at.
He delivered a hit to fellow junior safety Carlos McCracken. McCracken able to hang in there and bring him down, but what a hit.
And McCracken's helmet popping off on that one.
Miles hands back off to Bowman. Bowman couldn't find nothing initially, but he kept his feet moving, and he'll gain about 3 or 4.
Kept his feet moving while going backwards.
And you saw, I don't know if you saw it, but Miles was in there throwing a couple blocks.
Okay.
Not something you're too happy about if you're a coach.
No.
Not the most excitable thing you see in the world, but it works.
It does, and, I can imagine it's a lot like, trying to give your quarterback 20, 25, 30 carries a game, too. You definitely – not something you really want to do.
10 seconds on the play clock. Cougars in shotgun formation. Trips right, one tight end left. Bigelow in the backfield. Play action to Bigelow. Miles will keep himself. Didn't like what he saw at all. And he won't find anything.
And how about that quick decision-making right there from Miles? Not forcing the pass, not forcing the issue, just going ahead and taking what the defense will give you right there. And, I mean, right now Averett is well within kicker Cole Westbury's field goal range. And be looking at about a 38, 43-yard attempt from here.
And he has hit a 51-yarder so far this season.
And, Eddie, I was there for that one at Hampton City, and it wasn't a little squeaker. There was no doubt about that coming off his foot.
Miles drops back. Pocket collapses. He's going to scramble to try and find something. And he will be taken down. Looks like he might have got back to the line of scrimmage, and there is a flag on the field.
And it was thrown in the Methodist backfield, so we'll see if this is going to go against the Monarchs. 2:59 remaining in the first quarter. 14-0 is your score. If you're just joining us, Sean Bowman, 2 touchdown rushes today. Averett 2 turnovers?
I think it's actually 3.
3 turnovers.
A pick and 2 fumbles. One on special teams, one to fumble to open the game, one on special teams, and an interception there on the Methodist second drive.
And so, Averett's defense right now definitely, one of the big stories of this game, as it's been for a while. And Averett's going to bring on the special teams unit.
They're actually going to try and kick this field goal here.
Well within Westbury's range, who Westbury absolutely has a rocket. Looks like it's going to be about a 42-yard attempt, Eddie.
And just because he hit a 51-yarder doesn't make a 42-yarder cake. He's still going to have to put some play behind it. He is on the far hash. So Westbury puts it up. And it hits the post and falls out. No good.
Looked like it took a drop right there at the last second. Kicked on a line drive. And it just took a drop on Westbury at the last second. Of course, Westbury last year had a big season for the Cougars. Had 10 field goals, giving him the Cougar single-season record, which was previously 7, set by Chris Ashcraft, 2005, and Hobie Proctor, 2014, and Brad Scott, 2010. And he also made 36 extra points last season, and that set a school record, passing Ashcraft's 35.
Methodist with the run up the middle for about 6.
So Dejon Brooks hopping in on the tackle. 2nd and 8.
Trips right for Methodist.
Seeing a lot of that formation here tonight, only to be followed by little quick draws. We'll see if that's the case here, and it is. Quick little draw play run by Deers to the left side. About 5 yards on the play. It's going to set up a 3rd and 1 situation. 7 yards on the play, excuse me.
And this drive's defensive coordinator's crazy 3rd and 1. So you don't know if they're going to throw it short or run the ball. So you have to prepare for both. Hope that your D-line can hold stout. Ball snapped, and they will pass it. An out route does not fall, as they were trying to find number 5, Dylan Cummings, the senior receiver from Pennsville, New Jersey. Ball went through his hands, and they will punt the ball. And here, as a special teams coordinator now on 4th and 1, you have to watch for fake punts and all kinds of trickeries and magical things that come up out the sleeves of those Methodist coaches.
And, of course, if you're Methodist, too, you have to watch for a block punt here by the Cougars, too, as they have been very successful.
And they are bringing everyone, Davin.
They are. They are bringing the house.
And they almost able to get to it, and a flag will be thrown, and it looks like Methodist will get their first down that was needed. Offense will trot back onto the field.
So, Eddie, we had really 2 different stories with that call last week. There were a couple of times where the kickers took hits, both for Ferrum and Averett. Really I think one roughing the kicker call was made. And, of course, that one, I don't know, so much momentum or I don't know. When you're running straight at the guy, it's got to be hard to put the brakes on, but you got to.
And it is, especially when you weigh 225, 230. It's hard to rely on your knees to stop all of that weight or wear away at those knees. But, nevertheless, you can't hit the punters and kickers once the ball's away. They don't like that.
No, they don't, and
It's a 15-yard penalty and a first down. Methodist will come back out, trips right. This will be Keone at quarterback along with Deers in the backfield. They give it off to Deers up the middle.
And Deers runs into the great wall of Averett right there. Maybe a yard, maybe a couple of inches, if anything there.
Methodist is going to have to start opening up and throwing the ball more. Averett, their D-line is locked in on this run game. 2-3 yard gains won't win you the ball game. It'll knock the clock away, but it won't win you the ball game. You got to open up and start throwing some more passes. Here's one right here. A nice hitch route. And that really gets the confidence of your quarterback going. Whenever I coach football, I always do that. I always start with hitches, swings, and screens to get the confidence going. throw about 10 of them. And that way my quarterback, okay, I can throw in this game. Now we'll start going down the field.
That's a good plan, Eddie, especially when you're working with the younger ones. Get them those snaps, get them the repetition, and get them comfortable with your system. And raising them right, Eddie. Good job.
A nice pump and go action. And they're going to throw a pass interference. The flag came in rather late. Coach Adams is going to have some things to say about that. The flag came in all kinds of late because I saw the contact. And if you're going to throw that flag, you had to throw it about 15 seconds ago. He waited kind of until the ball hit the ground. But nevertheless.
But Eddie, really looking at that pass anyway, it was kind of overthrown. Do you think that's a catchable pass even without the hold, without the contact?
No idea. And it might have been a little uncatchable, but the refs say they'll never know if you were holding them. So another first down off of penalties for Methodist. 2.6 left in the first quarter.
And that's going to set Methodist up at the Averett 29-yard line, 1st and 10.
Pitch to Deers, and Deers loses his footing.
That's going to be about a loss of 3 right there. The lights are on here at Daly Field. Had a 6 o'clock kickoff. So we're looking at about 37 minutes so far of total gameage. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you keep track of all the Averett University athletics action at averettcougars.com. You can get updates on all the fall sports. Volleyball coming up with a big win against Bridgewater last night. They were ranked 20th. The Eagles were ranked 20th in the nation. Averett came in and picked up the big win. Covenant and Averett men's soccer playing to a 2-2 double overtime tie today. And so now Averett's football team looking to come out here. Averett's fall sports actually went 4-1-0 last week. Had 4 wins, 1 tie, no loss. And really that one tie was women's soccer. And from everything I heard, that was a game that the team really probably should have won. Just had a couple unlucky bounces and ended in a draw. Methodist with the ball on the Averett 32, looking to get in the end zone.
Shotgun doubles on either side. Excuse me there, Davin. And throw back, and they're going to throw the swing route to Deers.
And another loss of 3, it looks like, on the play, and that's going to set up a 3rd and forever for the Monarchs.
That was going to be about a 3rd and a country mile.
I like that, Eddie. I like that. I tell you one thing, Eddie. If the USA South gave out awards for catchphrases in broadcast, I think you and me would win it hands down.
Taking home the trophy. Methodist will drop back, and they're going to try and uncork a bomb. And ball will be knocked down to the turf.
And, Eddie, I almost saw more defensive pass interference right there than I did on that last play. And I was kind of waiting for the flag to come, but thankfully for Averett, it doesn't. Unfortunately for Methodist, it doesn't.
And Methodist thinks they're out of field goal range, so they will punt the football. It would have been about a 45-yard punt, but they will punt the ball. Or a 45-yard field goal, excuse me. They will punt the ball.
Now, Eddie, does it come to a point here in the first half, already being down by 2 possessions, where, especially if you're in your own territory, that you kind of just maybe take a gamble, maybe not on 4th and 16. Ball goes out of bounds, but for a touchback. But, do you get to a point, where you just kind of have to roll the dice and say, can we grab some momentum before the half?
If it becomes 17-0, I think you do. If Averett gets a field goal or a touchdown here, they will start. You'll start to see them go down the field more, spread that Averett defense out, and like you say, go forward on 4th and 16 in Averett's territory and try and get something going, because down by 2 possessions you can come back from. You still got a whole nother half and a whole quarter here in the second quarter. But down by 3 possessions, then their team starts holding their head low. Coaches start getting down in their play calls. But I think you're still good here. You got to keep boosting your team up and keep their morale high.
That's it. And
Bowman in motion. They will throw it to him on the swing route. He gets knocked back, and he will get knocked back to about the 10-yard line.
Had a 10-yard loss right there. And we're not used to seeing that when Bowman has the ball in his hands. But Methodist defense had that sniffed out like a drug dog, and they're able to get a loss of 10 on the play. So now looking at it, 2nd and 20. Or no, excuse me, 2nd and 15. My math is a little off. So Averett trying to get a check here in real quick.
Bowman finds some space. I think that was
about a 3-yard gain there.
McCracken running the alley. And that's almost perfect safety play. You teach your safeties on run plays. Run the alley. You see that hole open up and get in it. Because the linebacker is going to be held up by guards, D-linemen, held up by tackles and centers. Run that alley and get your head below the hips and make the tackle.
And that's one of the big things, that especially squaring up those hips, squaring up the shoulders. And
Miles rolling out here. And he finds Bennett. Back shoulder pass on a go route. And that will pick up the first down and some.
I believe about a 25-yard completion right there. Definitely Miles' longest of the season. Longest in a Averett uniform. That was Bennett on the reception.
And Averett will go hurry up here. They give it to Bowman. Bowman following off the backs of his O-lineman. And he keeps bouncing it outside.
Eddie, I would hate to have to go up against Bowman in a game of Dance Dance Revolution, because with his footwork, boy, I tell you one thing, he would be difficult to beat. He would be difficult to beat. So that's going to put the ball on the Methodist 45-yard line. So if Averett can grab another score here, of course, Methodist still does have plenty of time to get the ball back and run another possession or two, run another drive.
Miles swing it out. All kinds of laundry on the field.
Looked like we had one thrown in Averett's backfield and then another one thrown in Methodist's backfield. So we'll see if these are offsetting. So we've got a hold on Averett. And actually just one penalty on the play. Looked like there was another one thrown in Methodist backfield. I guess I'm just getting old, Eddie.
Well, it can be hard to see from up here.
It can, especially when you're working with this glare in the corner behind the scoreboard, and that sun really gets to going in sometimes.
So now we've got a 1st and 20 for the Cougars. Miles going with a quarterback draw. You wouldn't have got much.
We got another flag. This was thrown at the line of scrimmage.
Ball starting. This will now take us to 1st and 25.
Oof. And Averett head coach Cleve Adams is going to have a word with his offense once they get into the locker room. Nothing drives Adams crazier. Really nothing drives any coach crazier than a drive stalled out because of penalties, especially when you're already up by 2 scores and looking to kind of put your foot on the other team's throat.
And Bowman will pick some of that back up. And Davin, the Cougars will need 2 first downs and a 5-yard pickup to get a first down here.
And it will definitely be a tall order for Averett, but we have been able to see him do it before. I think perhaps right now maybe try to kick something out to Bennett, or maybe get something out to Jeremiah Smith, too, who had a couple of catches in last week's game.
Under center is Miles. And we'll hand it back off to Bowman on a counter play, and didn't get much at all.
I still like what Coach Shannon Johnson is doing, though, Eddie. He's mixing it up a little bit. There's no doubt that Methodist saw a lot of halfback isolation, a lot of running in between the tackles while they were looking at Averett's film, preparing for the Cougars this weekend, and Shannon Johnson bringing up a little bit different of a look this time around. So we've got a timeout on the field. We're going to take it with them here on the Averett Sports Network.
And we are back here on the Averett Sports Network after the quick injury timeout. Miles has the ball, trying to find something, anything, didn't find much. So this will bring on the punt team for Averett. 3 straight runs coming out of a 1st and 25. They chop it down to about 4th and 14, and just to bring on Westbury for the punt.
So it's going to be Bracken back to return. And I keep getting Bracken and Deers mixed up. That 1 looks like a 7 up here. Or I keep getting him mixed up with Easter, excuse me. Averett will down the ball at the 7. And excuse me, I said Bracken, McCracken. Eddie, I guess one thing I'll have to do is I'll just have to remember those commercials, Unleash the Kraken, and then add like a McDonald's or something in front of it. So right now Methodist will take over at its own 8-yard line, looking for a prayer here if they're going to try to get the ball in the end zone and cut their deficit to a possession going into the break. 9:32 left here in the first half.
And the Cougars come out with 5 DBs on the field in a nickel formation, but inside the 10, expect to see some blitzes here.
I was going to say they're going to bring the house.
Man coverage. Methodist sends someone in motion, a quarterback keeper from Deers. Or from Keone, excuse me.
So Keone right there looked like maybe got about 5-6 yards. And it's actually Keone, Eddie. We have been pronouncing that wrong. We apologize to his family if they are watching. 2nd and 4 on the 15. Methodist needing 85 yards right now to get its first touchdown of the game.
And finding space is Deers. Almost went airborne for a little bit. Taken down out of the sky was Deers and on about a 20-yard scamper.
And a good run right there. And it's going to have about 16 yards on the play. And so we're going to have a substitution here. We're going to actually Deers still in the game.
A timeout called by Averett.
So Averett now that is their first charged timeout of the half. And so Eddie, while we have a moment here, what are some in your own words and your own thoughts, what have been some of the keys here in this first half?
Well, the Cougars have stayed behind the pads and shoulders of Bowman, and when they don't set themselves back with penalties, they've really been successful on the back of Bowman. And then Miles with a couple of good throws, finding Bennett on the sideline, back shoulder. And so the Cougars stick to their game plan. Don't get off your script. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Defense coming up with very big turnovers on almost every drive. If it's not been a turnover, it's been a 4 and out. So that's really good. Methodist has to, if I'm Methodist, I have to start spreading the field out, passing the ball a little bit more, bubble screen, something so that I can get Deer some open lanes. But we're going to see if they change something in that timeout there. And try and get something moving here with 8:42 left in the first half.
And, Eddie, you're talking about a lot of screens. I mean, this offensive line for Methodist, they are not small by any means.
Absolutely not. That play was absolutely blown up.
So Deere's about a loss of 2 there. And actually, they will say he got back to the line of scrimmage, so it will turn into a 2nd and 10 from the Methodist 31-yard line. 14-0 is your score. 8 minutes. Just over 8 minutes remaining in the first half. Methodist would really like to get at least one score here before the end of the half.
And a nice catch across the middle by Josh Carter, as he was absolutely tattooed by Norcott there across the middle, but he was able to hold on to it.
I was going to say Norcott really laid the lumber, like 86 lumber right there. Oh, that was terrible, Eddie. I'm sorry. But anyway, really got the lumber laid to him right there, so did a good job of hanging on to that ball after the catch and after contact.
At this passes again and running a lot of post routes right now. No good, broken up.
Tyreek Abel, not surprising there. Greensboro, North Carolina native, only about an hour from Danville. I'm sure he's got to love that, being close to mom and dad if he ever needs any money. And, of course, you got to think that mom and dad might be a little annoyed by that he's got to come to them for money all the time. So a little screenplay set up on the right, intended for number 5, Dylan Cummins. Nothing going, though. And, Eddie, I think one thing right now both defenses are doing a great job of is limiting those third down conversions, not giving the offense any more momentum, not giving their opposing offenses any more momentum than they absolutely need to have. So no doubt a passing play coming up here is Methodist. 4 wide receivers out, 2 on each side.
Averett in the cover 2. And Keone had to run. Pick up about 6.
So Eddie, now are you at the point now, if you're Methodist, you've got a little bit of momentum going in your running game, and that answers my question right there. As the special teams unit will come on to the field for the Monarchs. 7:06 left. 14-0 is your score. Averett right now putting together a rather complete game. I think still probably a little left to be desired on the offensive end of the ball, but they're still defensively they're dominating. And Norcott back to receive. He will take it at about the 27.
And if you're Methodist, you're still okay here. You're down 2 touchdowns, but it's just a 2-possession game. Like I said, you've got almost half of this quarter and 2 more whole quarters to play after this one. So you're fine. As long as Averett doesn't get any more points before you go to half, you're okay. They much rather have come out of that with at least 3 points and be able to say, we built something. Now we have something to build on, but you're good here. No need to take unnecessary risk and give Averett the ball in good position, and maybe they score a touchdown right before half, and that's something you don't want to do.
No, it's not. And trying to keep all that momentum that you can right now.
Miles to Bowman. Bowman finding what he can.
Looks like he was lucky to maybe get back to the line of scrimmage right there. Maybe even a loss of a yard. And it looks like he will get actually no gain will be the call on the field. 2nd and 10 from the Averett 29-yard line. The Cougars with a 14-0 advantage. And I don't know how well Miles did selling the fake right there, Eddie.
Some extracurricular activity going on down there. Jesse Sweeney blocking until the whistle stops blowing. Luckily, there was no flags thrown.
And, there's always a little bit of chippiness between these two teams. They have been meeting now for going on just about 20 years. 17th edition of this game. And that looked like Bennett out for maybe about 6 yards on the play.
Cougars thought about going for that 4th and 2. Thought about it, but went with the better judgment, being up by 2 touchdowns. They're going to punt the ball, pin them deep, and make Methodist drive the field. And if I'm the Cougars, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rely on my defense. They've not failed me yet this game, so I put my trust in my defense.
And that's the big plus for Adams. Of course, Adams, has spent a lot of time on the defensive end of the ball. And look at Averett's special team unit absolutely standing up. And we've still got some chippiness down there. And we've got a player down on the field trying to get you his number. Now, this does not look like a cramp. We hope he is okay. He is really withering in some pain. We're trying to get you the number now. But it definitely does not look like a cramp as it's been. So we hope that he is in good shape. We're still trying to get you a number here. He is not yet to get up. Looks like it might be number 80.
Victory Woods. A sophomore receiver, maybe, out of Myrtle Beach.
And that's what it looked like. Now, we're not exactly sure. We look like it was Woods, or it looked like it was Woods. That went down, and it is. Now, he is up, and he's being helped off the field. It's got a limp, so, he really got caught up in that back third of Averett's special teams unit, and I wonder maybe, twist a foot or, twist your ankle, twist a foot, twist an ankle, and see. So, well, we are ready to resume things where they left off here. Methodist will take over on its own 27-yard line with just under 5 minutes. We would like to thank all our Averett sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Chick-fil-A, Robert Woodall, Daily 7, URW, Sova, Trophy and Science Center. Deers with the run, and he's got some big yards, about 16 yards, but there's a flag on the play.
That's going to be a hold. I think it's going to be on number 6, Xavier McNeil, their freshman receiver. I was looking at him before the play. He's 6'2", a long, lanky receiver. 6'2", 175, a good build. He's from Garner, North Carolina.
And he actually leads the team in scores and touchdown receptions for Methodist. He has 2.
I actually played against him a couple times in high school, once or twice.
Okay. Was he a blue chip guy in high school as well?
He was a standout receiver. He was someone we circled on our game plan, definitely.
So 1st and 10, ball on the 25.
Play action. Nice pass delivered across the middle.
And that was number 14, DeCalvis Butler, the 6'2", 190-pound freshman. 6'2", 190 pounds at 18 years old, Eddie.
That's a big body. And they're going to go back to him.
I think maybe my head weighs 190 pounds, but I don't know about the rest of my body.
And at 6'2", a frame like that, you see you've got both of their receivers. Both of them, ironically, are freshmen, but both of them stand at 6'2". That gives your quarterbacks a big, wide range area to throw it to. You don't have to just hit them in the chest. You can throw it within 5 feet of them, and they'll go out and get it.
Kind of lob it up to them, huh?
And you're going to show it here. A lob to Butler.
Oh. Looked like there was an Averett defender that was able to break that one up. Maybe Victor Miller, Eddie?
I didn't get a good look at the number, so your guess is better than mine. But, yeah, like you said, able to lob it up to him. They tried to show you that there with a nice little hitch-and-go action. It didn't go. He almost hauled it in for a spectacular catch.
He did. I mean, trying to make that catch with his shoulder turn, facing – he was facing towards the ball, but still at an awkward spot. And that pass looked like it had been deflected at first, but it's actually thrown over to Josh Carter, the 5'11", 210-pound junior. You know, and one thing that I've noticed about this Methodist receiving corps is at least 5 guys over 6 feet, so definitely what you like to have. Tall and lanky. So here's the snap. Monty back in the pocket. Throws over the middle. Hit on the slant route. That's a big gain right there as he's able to find Dylan Cummins, the 5'10", 190-pound senior.
And Davin, he caught the ball and absolutely turned the Jets on.
He did.
And across the field.
If that hadn't been for Tyreek Abel, I'll tell you one thing. I think he would have been gone to the house on that one. So here's the snap. 1st and 10, ball on the Averett 25. And I think we're going to have a timeout on the field. We're going to take it with him, but we're going to be right back here on the Averett Sports Network.
And we're back on the field here. 1st and 10, 3:11 to go. Averett leads 14-0. Methodist with the ball. This will be Keone. And he finds, that is Josh Carter across the middle. That ball was tipped like the safety tried to jump the route and tried to get in front of it. But it was tipped, and Carter able to haul it in and get in the end zone.
Well, it almost looked like, too, like maybe that was that number 4, Carter was not the original target there, as it looked like they were maybe trying to set the screen up, but breaks over the middle, and it results in 6. And there's a blocked PAT attempt, and I believe
that's Kevin Norcott able to haul it in.
So right now, I tell you one thing, Coach Adams needs to take David Clark out to Golden Leaf for a night on the town, somewhere nice, get him something special. I think David Clark is going to be very excited about his Christmas present from Coach Adams, because the last 2 weeks he has been crucial. His coaching, his calling, his scheming has been crucial to this Averett team.
And Davin, I would go as far to say is this might be definitely the best special teams unit in the USA South, but I think it might be contending for the best special teams unit all around in D3.
Well, definitely, that's now 4, either between blocked field goals, punts, PATs, and I mean, right now it's just it's scheming, and I think so much of what it is David Clark just has a rare ability to be able to really call things on the fly and just kind of adjust, to things how he sees fit.
And as you said, there's 4 of those, and then also the last I checked, Cole Westbury's 51-yard field goal leads D3 football as the longest field goal in the nation so far through the first 4 games. So it wouldn't shock me if this is the best special teams unit out there. They are absolutely showing out this year. That's actually smart by Methodist. That's also something I've never seen
before. Methodist, a well-coached football team. I mean, they've had it tough sledding offensively here so far, but they're trying different things up. You see them went through the air a lot more last time, Eddie, like you were talking about they needed to do. And that one is going to go down at the 23.
It's Bradley Jefferson on the return.
Eddie, I just had a funny thought. There's one of the guys down there dropping off water. He almost, with that visor on, he almost looks like the guy from the Dr. Pepper commercials, that come on during football, football Saturdays. So 3:01 remaining in the half. 14-6 is your score. Averett looking to try to get back up one more possession as the Monarchs get the ball to start the second half.
Bowman. Air Bowman.
Get that man a shoe.
Clears the corner. Bowman looked left, looked right. Didn't want to go through him, so he goes over him.
Maybe he's got a new dance right there, Eddie, because that was pretty. So Averett with the no huddle.
2:45 shotgun formation, and they will give it back to Bowman. Bowman able to find some more space.
And Eddie, you really need to get this man on a Ginsu commercial because he slices, he dices, he chops through defensive lines as we've seen here early on tonight.
I'm going to give it back to Bowman. Not as much success as on the first two runs. And another thing in football is they always say on first down you run the ball, you might break one. Second down, as we saw, you might break one. But then you might have 5 rushes that go for 1 yard, 2 yards, 3 yards. But you got to stay behind it and keep steady. And as you see, Bowman will break one, and you got a new running back in the game.
Well, it looks like Averett, too, right now. 7 on the offensive line. And they're going with the pass right there. And I think that was to Bowman, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was actually B.J. Robbins.
B.J. Robbins. Thank you, Eddie. Your eyes are a lot younger than mine, I will tell you that.
Younger, but I don't know about the quality.
Let's say quality, not quantity, right?
Miles under center here. Averett with a whole lot of people on the line. They're going to give it off here. I couldn't tell what number the running back was wearing. And that is number 35, Paul Wiles, the junior running back. He will stay in the backfield. Cougars trips right. And we're going to give it to Wiles again.
And do we have a timeout on the field? I think we do. And Eddie, I don't know about you, but I could use a sip of Coke and a quick break. So we're going to go ahead and take the timeout with him here at Daly Field. But when we come back, we will have the last minute and a half of the first half here at Daly Field. Keep it locked.
And we are back here. Averett with the ball on their side of the 50. Miles will drop back a quick hitch route. But it's enough to get about 3 or 4.
Was that Robbins again?
I believe it was, actually. Averett with a whole new personnel, and they've got Robbins in. They just had Wiles in, but now Bowman back onto the field.
Well, Eddie, one thing I was really impressed with just a second ago, they had 7 on the offensive line. Normally when you have them, and there's a bad snap.
Miles able to get to it.
And that's going to be a loss of about 14 right there. So that's going to set up a second and long for Averett.
50 seconds here. Averett in no rush.
So Averett right now, it looks like they have Robbins set up in the flat out there.
Pass play. No.
Whew.
I don't think he caught the ball there.
I don't think he did either, but I tell you one thing, that was an absolute rocket from Christian Miles. Just a little bit too low. If it wasn't, that would have hit the receiver in the numbers just square on. And
Danville with 34.7 left on third down. Expect to, I don't know if they're gonna rely on Bowman or throw the ball, but they're gonna try and get back in field goal range for Westbury as Miles drops back and the ball gets through. Actually, all the way.
Wow.
I don't know how it got through, but Jeremiah Smith came up with it.
Boy, I tell you one thing, you're talking about thread the needle. I think right now Miles has got to be feeling like he could get that football in a cookie jar after that one.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Got it through two diving defenders there. I thought it was tipped and intercepted, but Smith able to get up with it. Again, Miles absolutely putting it in the window that it needed to go into.
I mean, and he did. He put the heater on that one.
And I've been curious to see if they're going to try and run it with Bowman because they are on the 21. So if you turn the ball over, Methodist does have to drive the field in 20 seconds. So you can risk a fourth down, going for it on fourth down, or you can take it into the half, 17-6, with given that Westbury makes the field goal and go into the half 17-6. So.
And Eddie, right now, I know I'm not a coach, and there's a reason I'm not a coach, but why not try to go ahead and go for it? And if you get the first down, great. If you're unable to get out of bounds, call a quick timeout and go ahead and settle for the field goal. If anything, it puts Westbury in better range.
And if I fully expect having a run up the middle with Bowman, if they get it, a quick timeout and a field goal from Westbury, unless Bowman somehow puts it in the end zone. And they will give it to Bowman, and he will be tackled for a loss, actually. Then that was number 13, Gerard Nobles, freshman corner, on the tackle. He came screaming off the edge to take Bowman down. Now Methodist with 19-9 left, and Cougars will, I think they'll come out in a prevent type formation. You tell your defensive backs,
Definitely.
whatever you do, don't let anything behind you.
Don't let anything behind you. That's it. And they definitely are. They are coming right out in the prevent.
And Methodist is going to be smart. They're going to take this to half. And take a kneel here, take it to half. No injuries, no crazy turnovers here. Take it to the locker room and develop their game plan. It is a one-possession game.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here in the first half. Averett holding a 14-6 lead. Keep it locked right here. We will be back in about 7 or 8 minutes with the Big Sky halftime show here on the Averett Sports Network. Once again, Cougars hold an 8-point advantage over the Monarchs. We'll kick it right back here in a few moments. I'll lead in, by the way. Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Daly Field at Averett University's beautiful North Campus, Frank R. Campbell Stadium. The sun is going down. Got a little half moon coming out here over the end zone on the right, closest to the scoreboard. And we're just moments away from the start of this game. 14-6 is your score. Averett leads. We're going to take a look at the quick leaders real quick. Right now, Deers, 10 carries, 60 yards. He leads the Monarchs. Josh Carter leads with 55 yards receiving, and the Monarchs alone score. Meanwhile, Sean Bowman, 22 carries, 94 yards, 2 TDs. B.J. Robbins, 3 catches, 22 yards. And then Miles Bennett getting in on the action big time. 2 catches, 46 yards. So Sean Bowman's touchdown runs of 3 and 7 yards, made it 14-0, and then Carter cuts into the lead as he caught a pass from Keone. So the Cougars back to kick to lead things off here. Pretty decent kick, Eddie, at about the 2-yard line. About a 63-yard kick right there.
And, Davin, if I have to pick a player of the half, again, I did it last time we had a home game, but my player of the half is going to be the entire 11 Averett defense.
Yes.
They are ball hawks and absolutely keeping their offense on the field, and that has allowed them to – they were up 14-0 up until that last tip catch into the end zone at the end of the half there by the Monarchs. But the defense absolutely, outside of that one mistake, flawless.
And, Eddie, you were talking about that. Looking here at the halftime stats, Methodist right now, 160 yards of total offense, Averett 158. So not quite the differential last week between Ferrum, but Averett still with the lead despite being outgained. And with defense like that, I mean, what do you expect? Tried to get to the outside right there. Averett read it. They smelled blood, and they pounced.
Swarming defense. When you're a runner – and you see grass, and you go to grass, and then 2 seconds later, all you see is a squadron full of players of the opposite color uniform. Yeah. Things get real scary.
Yeah, they do. They do that. And so shotgun formation, little screenplay out to number 18.
Bobbled, but 18 is going to take it all the way across the field for possibly a gain of 1. And Davin, running across the field might not seem like a tall task, but the field is 100 yards of playing turf and 53 and a half yards wide. So you just it's 53 and a half yards for a gain of 1. So
yeah, Eddie, you took the words out of my mouth, bud. You took them right out of my mouth. And one thing that is good, though, about this field is so many fields, football fields, especially grass surfaces, there's always a little bit of an incline, a little bit of a slope on one side. And don't really have that here at Daly Field. So Methodist once again is shotgun. Drop back to pass, and that one looks like it's complete to Cummings. He got about half the first down yardage right there. But it is going to bring up another Methodist punt. And so, Eddie, as we were talking about, defense is key here. Eddie, it would be such a big momentum boost for the Cougars to come in here after their 2 tough losses to start the season. Come in here 2 consecutive wins, go 2-0 in the conference so far. And that special teams just about broke through right there. Good planning, though, by the Monarchs, and it's going to be the Monarchs jumping on the ball. So Averett will start at its own 39-yard line after Methodist first drive of the half goes 3 and out and ends with a punt. So we've got Bowman in the backfield. Bowman, 100 yards so far. And look at this, Eddie. 4 punts for Cole Westbury, 141 yards, averaging 35 2/3 of a yard per punt. And
Bowman fighting his way to an 8-yard gain.
And I tell you one thing, Bowman just blows right through him. And really, Averett has two backs that are very good at doing that, very good at running through contact, and it's something that Averett really hasn't had in a while, as it's always been a contact versus kind of shifty backs.
And Miles is going to uncork a long bomb. Not able to be hauled in. That was, I think it was number 10, Marcus Terry, they were trying to go to there.
It was Terry, and it looks like Averett is going with the no huddle here on 3rd and 3, 3rd and short. Ball at the Averett 46-yard line. Averett looking to grab a 2-possession lead here and maybe start trying to put its foot on the Monarchs' throat a bit. 3rd and 3. So Miles had Terry in single coverage down there, but Terry well defended.
Giving it off to Bowman, and Bowman is going to find his way to the end zone, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling all the way to the end zone. It's Bowman for
54 yards. And I tell you one thing, Bowman right now with the hat trick, his 3rd touchdown of the game. And I tell you one thing right now, Eddie, you cannot contain him.
You cannot. And one thing I was going to mention on the last run before he broke that one off is his yak yards have to be crazy. The yards after contact, every time you wrap Bowman up, you think he's going down, and he gets 8-9 more yards. But Bowman, a 54-yard run for a touchdown there. And he turned on the Jets and showed the speed on the sideline.
And Eddie, with Bowman's speed and then with Bigelow's speed, of course, we haven't seen much of Bigelow tonight. He's only been given the ball one time. But with the two of their speed, I mean, if you start getting some sweeps out there, you start kicking the ball out to the wings, that east and west running, I tell you, I don't know too many defenses, with the exception of maybe Huntington in the USA South, that would be able to stop the Cougars' running attack.
Absolutely, and they do. And you mentioned the speed of those two backs, of Bowman and Bigelow, and they have another trick hidden up their sleeve, and Wiles, their third-string runner, the third running back, who brings in the power of those three running backs. You wear a team down, wear a defense down after Bowman and Bigelow, and then you power them with Wiles. That's a deadly combination trio of running backs.
It is, and Wiles too. He's a very seasoned young man. He's been on this team for quite a bit, and so he's really he's comfortable with the system that Adams runs, and we're happy to have him on the squad. So here's the kick from Westbury, and that one is killed.
Westbury will put it in the end zone.
Westbury almost had a field goal right there.
And there's an Averett Cougar down.
And we're going to have a flag, as that was a flagrant play there after the whistle was blown by number 23, I believe, of the Monarchs. And trying to see, I believe it is number 5.
Kai Newford, sophomore safety. Kai, a very athletic kid.
And so I'm wondering, it looks like unsportsmanlike conduct on the Monarchs. And I tell you one thing, after that, I hope that young man got a warning, because that was a late shot, and then kind of stood over him for a second. Looked like he might have been talking a little smack. And Eddie, when you're losing by 15, you can't do any smack talking.
It's hard to have a whole lot of points to talk about, a lot of material to use when you're down 15. But nevertheless, Coach talks to him and gets his head straight. The Monarchs are in terrible field position here. There's a nice pass completion, goes for about 4.
And I thought we might have had another flag thrown there for a second, but it was actually a football coming over on the other side. Don't know how I get a brown football mixed up with a yellow flag, but
I guess sometimes with the way the light shines on the field, the way you're sitting, the angle you're looking at, and the glasses and the glare.
Thanks for making me feel better, Eddie. I appreciate that.
A run now by Deers.
And he actually got pushed forward there for some extra yards. That's going to be a first down and a gain of about 23. No, it's actually going to be a gain of about 11.
Deers with 60 rushing yards himself in the first half. Not far behind Bowman.
Not far behind him at all. So Averett's shifting over.
Trying to get in position there. There's going to be a flag thrown.
I wonder if we've got a false start here from the Cougars. And actually, that's going to be another penalty of the 15-yard variety going against the Monarchs. And Monarchs just keep shooting themselves in the foot. And actually, I think that's going to actually be a 5-yard penalty. Excuse me. Thought I heard unsportsmanlike conduct down there. Methodist in the shotgun. 2 wide receivers out right. Slant route over the middle.
And Methodist turning a 3-yard slant into a 12-yard pickup. That is, I believe, number
14, DeCalvis Butler coming through with the catch. Butler had 1 catch for 19 yards in the first half, and then that one looked like about 14 yards and a Methodist first down. So Methodist, Eddie, they have had success when deciding to run the slant route here so far tonight.
Motion across. Fake and a quarterback keep.
About maybe 2 yards if he's lucky there, maybe 1. It's kind of hard looking at now to see if he even got back to the line of scrimmage. He did. It's Deers with about a 2-yard carry. So Kenneth KJ Covington coming down with the big tackle there, and he is the senior captain on this team. And what a force he is. But Eddie, is often the case as it is with a lot of defensive guys and a lot of guys that you see that are just big, physical, imposing-looking guys that you would not want to get into a bar fight with or anything. A lot of the times are some of the humblest, gentlest people you'll ever meet. And that is the exception with Covington, or that is the case with Covington.
Shotgun formation here for Methodist. A nice out route. And it was completed. Nice way to get the toe drag swag.
Yeah, toe drag swag. I like that, Eddie. We're going to have to get T-shirts on that one, pal. So that's going to be about a 14-yard completion there, and another Methodist first down. So Methodist needing to put together a drive, and right now they have the keys in the ignition. They were looking to take them out and get a little Grand Theft Auto going.
Motion again, bad snap, drop back to pass. And now scrambling for his life. Cut back across the middle of the field, and he's going to get hit by a linebacker. He was actually hit by number 30, Victor Miller, 6'2", 240 is the senior from Virginia Beach.
And Eddie, being from Virginia Beach, I tell you one thing, it's like a talent pool of football down there in the 757 area. So, definitely glad to have him up here, and he's been a big part of this Averett defense.
Absolutely is. Methodist is in that shotgun formation again. Looks like they're going to go a little bit of there's some confusion here on the field. Methodist, just 5 seconds to snap the ball. They're going to have to spend a timeout.
And that has got to drive the coaching staff crazy. 15-point game here in the second half.
And you hate having to use a timeout in the beginning of the third quarter. That's something you could use there in the fourth quarter if you're down by 3 driving the field. But nevertheless, they use it. And it's 21-6, 9:17 remaining. Averett out in front, defense holding stout all game. Again, outside of that one play, really being airtight here. Had a pick by Dejon Brooks. You had a couple of fumble recoveries on special teams, and in the opening stages of the game. So Methodist has been airing the ball out a little bit more lately as to open up the second half. They've been throwing the ball, a lot of slants, post, out routes. So we're going to see what they go with here. Shotgun formation, tight end left, doubles right. And they give it off to Deers. Fights to make it back to the line of scrimmage.
And I tell you, the Averett has done a good job of limiting him so far this year, or excuse me, this game. Don't think they play Methodist every single game, Eddie.
That would be interesting if Averett's defense is out there stopping him when other teams are playing.
Yes, it would be. It would be. So about a 2-yard loss there by Deers. Good turnout here tonight at Frank R. Campbell Stadium, and pressure on.
Looking for no laundry on the field. That's great defense there by number 10, Terrell England. A freshman cornerback. He stands 6 foot, 160 out of Newton, North Carolina.
And Eddie, this D line for Averett, definitely one of the biggest, kind of most experienced D line that they've had under the tutelage of Adams, and it really showed right there.
As they will come after this punt, don't get to it.
Fair catch call by Norcott, and that's going to be at about the 10-yard line.
And Davin, a lot of things that make a defense work. A big portion of it is energy. If you can have energy on defense, a lot of times energy will cause you to make tackles that you wouldn't normally make. So, and this team has that. There's no lack of energy on the defensive side of the ball. All guys, when they make a tackle, they are all into it and congratulating their teammate and slapping helmets, which isn't always fun. But
yeah, I can imagine that would rattle your cage a little bit right there, Eddie. Especially if you're a 5'9" running back going up against a 6'2" defensive tackle.
Bowman, carry up the middle, still fighting.
Wow.
Still not down. Now he goes down.
Nobody's going to take his pride. Nobody's going to hold him down.
Pop artist Davin Wilson on the headset with
me. And, Eddie, I think after that one I'm just going to stick to the broadcasting and leave the singing to, I can't remember who did that one. I think it was Shaka Khan or I don't know, somebody you weren't alive for, Eddie.
Unfortunately, I missed out. But I thank you to bring it to me as Averett gives it off to Bowman. Bowman finding some room to run, about a 13-yard pickup.
I tell you, Eddie, when you talk about a guy whose engine does not quit, the motor does not stop running, I tell you one thing, Bowman must wake up every single morning and put WD-40 on his legs because he can keep them moving through the contact and still pick up yards.
Cougars line up, shotgun formation again. They will give it back. They don't give it to Bowman in play action. They find Bennett.
About a 21-yard reception. Bennett actually tackled at the 47, hit so hard it moved him an extra 3 yards forward.
And the Methodist got caught up there trying to defend the run so much and caught in a cover 0 formation where that left Bennett one-on-one with a corner, and you don't like that matchup.
No. Corners are not your best guys in open space.
So Bowman finding his way for about 3 yards.
And Averett really doing a great job. I mean, hats off to Shannon Johnson here. As this season goes on, he's learning more and more about his team, more and more what they can do, more and more where their bread and butter is, where their weaknesses are. And, you know, I think he's really got the potential to turn this offensive unit into a real danger by the time this season ends.
And I think some people after last season was wondering, what do we do after Bowman? But Bigelow looking to be the replacement. And this is big number 41, Denarius Hilton, freshman running back, 6 foot 254, Davin.
Wow. Wow. And he's a running back. That's fullback tight end size right there, you know. That is not a prototypical running back right there, but that's why he was able to get that 8-yard gain.
And now at 3rd and 2, fully expect him to give it back to him and let him just pound his way for another 2 yards. So I'm the defensive coordinator. I send a whole bunch of people, and they do give it to him. And what does he do? He bounces it outside. Big man running down the field. And, Davin, that's the scariest sight on defense when you have someone 6 foot, 254 running at you full steam ahead, and it's only you and him. Your eyes get big, your thighs tighten up.
And other things tighten up too, but we won't talk about that. So about a 19-yard gain right there.
Back to Hilton they go. And a truck. Oh, my goodness. Number 1, Kraken taking another big hit. And you got to think he's getting tired of taking these hits. But he's bringing the running backs down as Hilton absolutely bringing the boomstick to McCracken.
McCracken earned his name right there. He earned that name. As you could hear the pads crunching all the way up here in the press box.
Hilton getting on the field and showing Coach Adams why he should get the ball more often.
Hilton out of Wadesboro, North Carolina. Freshman.
And him along with Bigelow, those 2 freshman backs. You're looking at a tandem in the future of speed and power. That is scary.
It is, and especially you get your receiver or 2 in there, and there's but we're gonna have a flag. I think we're gonna have pass interference. And a little bit of a question on that call. Of course, if you're an Averett fan, you'll take it. If you're a Methodist fan, you might be kind of scratching your head a little bit and wondering what the referee saw right there as that play.
I mean, to me, you can't get better on defense than that. I mean, against a slant route, the hardest route to cover if you're a corner, you can't get much better than that. So, but the referee didn't like it, so he threw the flag again. If you're an Averett fan, you're cheering, and actually called holding on him. And if you're an Averett fan, you're cheering. You're a Methodist fan, you're complaining. And that will be a first down for Averett.
10-yard hold right there. It's going to move it down to the 13. So right now, Eddie, you got to think if Averett can get one more score, they've got to be feeling very good about where they're sitting with just about 19 minutes left to go in this game. Of course, that is an eternity too, Eddie.
Miles sends Bowman in motion. They give it to him. Miles too high on the pass.
And it's a long ball.
They threw it behind the line of scrimmage, and Bowman chasing him down. I'm not quite sure who that is with the ball, and now he's in a frenzy with the Methodist Monarchs. I'm not going to be able to find him, but he was able to scoot that fumble up, and that's actually very smart football. Anytime the ball hits the ground, Davin, go and pick it up. You never know what's going to happen. And there is a Methodist Monarch on the ground here. And,
very heads-up play there by that young man. We will check the stats real quick to see who actually had the takeaway there or had the recovery for the Monarchs. Very heads-up play, concentrating, keeping an eye on it, knowing that was a live ball and not an incomplete pass. And we just saw the officials pointing back towards the Averett side. I don't think this one's coming back. I wonder what we had, maybe timeout. I think they were talking about the injured player, Eddie. I think that's what it was down there. So, I mean, that's huge right there if you're Methodist. Now, you had the ball on your opponent's 35-yard line. You're 35 yards out from getting back into this ball game and making it a one-possession game. 21-6 is the score. And, Eddie, I'm trying to see who's down in the backfield down there. It looks like it's Deers, if I'm not mistaken. Little screen pass and nothing going there as that got blown up in the backfield. That almost looked like the Looney Tunes commercial with the Roadrunner blowing up Wiley the Coyote in the backfield right there.
And running a sprint out right, screen left is very hard to do. Catching a defense off guard is not easy. Pass delivered across the middle. Trying to find more room, couldn't. Good discipline by Averett. I think that was Norcott on the tackle.
Good open field tackle there by Norcott. Good rush by Warren. Cougars sending 2 there on the blitz, and I think perhaps got a little caught up there. But that's going to be 3rd and 7, so a lot better than 3rd and 15. But Methodist still with some work to do if it wants to get the first down.
Definitely a passing down here. And they will go towards the end zone and will not be caught. That's defended well.
And it's actually looked like number 18 there. We did not. Maybe it was number 8.
I think it was number 16, Andrew Edwards.
16,
freshman
okay.
Cornerback for Averett. Defending.
Eddie, we don't have. I've worked in a couple of big Division I press boxes, and they have like little monitors all around them to let them know so they can see down on the field. We don't have that luxury here, so a little hard to.
Mine and your great eyes, we can get this on 4th and 7 now. It will be a sack by Don Warren.
And Warren goes, gobble, 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 give me a brown bag of my sandwich. And he comes through with a big sack lunch right there and a turnover on downs.
You know, Devin, I was just getting ready to say we hadn't called Warren's name out much this game, but there he is, big-time impact player. And big-time players make big-time plays, and that was definitely one. 4th and 7 on their side of the field, trying to bring it back to a one-possession game. Warren with the 4th down sack.
And, Eddie, you know, what does that do to Methodist's momentum right there? I mean, they get a little bit of it back on the fumble, and get the ball in their enemy's territory, and now
fumble on the play. Miles able to get back down on it. And it was a high snap. Miles tried to get it down and give it to Bowman, but miscommunication there.
Well, you've got a freshman center in number 73, Jesse Sweeney, and then, of course, Wilson Gregory, number 72, under center right now. And 6'1 senior, 266, so call him a hoss.
Miles under center. We'll pitch it out to Bowman. Bowman. That's good discipline by Bowman. Hitting the hole even though there's nothing there. Not bouncing it outside. Just closing your eyes, putting your head behind your shoulders.
And pray. It almost seems like we've got a fireworks smell or something drifting into the box here. I can't say it's the most pleasant smelling thing in the world. So 3rd and long for the Cougs. Ball on their own 34. A single set backfield.
And Bowman finding space again. And another. And depends on where the refs called it down at.
And I think he was down. I think the whistle had blown before the ball popped out. I think Bowman's knee is down now. You almost got to wonder, and they're gonna send the special teams unit on here. Adams playing very conservatively.
Absolutely. Up by 2 possessions. Just over 1.5 minutes remaining. I would make them pin deep and drive against my phenomenal defense that has been this team so far. And, again, the special teams unit been just as good, so why not?
And I tell you, they have it's been a very impressive game defensively and special teams wise. And you know, give Methodist its credit too. Methodist's defense and a
punt. And Methodist will get back on it.
Ooh,
muffed punt.
And Eddie, we've seen a whole lot of that going on tonight. I wonder if maybe trying to keep up with the ball in the lights, or maybe the field's a little wet down there. I don't know, but we've definitely seen a lot of loose balls on the ground here.
And I'll tell you, as a former punt return man myself, punt return is probably the scariest position on the football field to play. The ball hangs up in the air, and you've got these guys coming at you. So a lot of the times your eyes on these guys coming down the field trying to plan out your pattern after you catch the ball. So you got to make sure you catch the ball first before you run. And it looked like that might have been what happened. Nevertheless, a Methodist handoff up the middle to Deers. He'll gain about 3.
And really what you've got right here is two very defensive-minded coaches really going at it, trying to out-coach each other. And, Eddie, I think we knew that this was going to be a defensive game coming in here. Neither team's offense is really doing that much. And, of course, Methodist does come in giving up 50 points per game. Oh, nearly picked off there. And that's a pick six waiting to happen.
And guess who it is? Tyreek Abel, almost taking it back to the house.
Not very surprised right there, as that would have been Abel's second consecutive week with an interception return. 3rd and 7, 20 ball on the.
And Averett has to get that player off the field. They will call a timeout. That would have been a 12-man on the field penalty, and that's not good, especially on 3rd and 7. That would have been a first down for Methodist. So 3rd and 7. Coach Adams will get his defense back over, try and confuse the quarterback of the Monarchs.
And you see Kenneth KJ Covington down there really kind of getting into his team right there, saying, guys, you know, we're better than this. We've done great the whole game. We've held a team that has got some offensive weapons to just 6 points thus far. You know, what are we doing right there? And Adams and his staff will get things worked out. So right now, Eddie, you've got two teams, each of them on different missions right now. What are some of the things that both teams need to be focused on over the last 15 minutes of this game?
Well, Methodist is going to – I think they're doing good with what they're doing. They just got to execute better. They're opening the field back up, and when they pass the ball more, then they'll give you a 3rd down run with Deers, and he'll pick you up 8. So they're doing good with their game plan. They just got to execute on the passing end, stop dropping as many balls, maybe less bad passes, and you might see Methodist back in this game. 44 seconds left in the 3rd quarter.
And shotgun formation, single back also. And I don't know if you count that as a sack, or I think he might have just jumped out of the way right there.
And that will, in the stat book, be counted as a stat for Victor Miller. Nice job by the Averett defense. And now not only was that a good sack, and that takes them to 4th down, but that pins the punter deep, which gives Kevin Norcott room to – anywhere you catch this punt, you're in good field position as an Averett offense.
You really are. And so here it goes. And, of course, Averett has obviously known for blocking punts, and that's just a little blooper.
And it will take a friendly Methodist roll there and all the way down to the 50. Not bad field position still for Averett. They are in midfield.
So, ladies and gentlemen, through 3 quarters going into the 4th, you see the 4 fingers coming up. So while they are switching sides, we're going to take a quick break here on the Averett Sports Network, but we will be right back. Keep it locked.
And we are back. Cougars on top of the ball, 21-6 at midfield to open this 4th quarter. And they will give it to Hilton. Full head of steam. A nice stiff arm puts his tackler in the dirt. Hilton, a big, strong body. A nice 4-yard run. And they're going to go back to Hilton here.
And Hilton one moves for some big guy.
And Hilton giving number 15 another big hit. That's two straight plays in a row that he's delivered a hit to number 15, E.J. White.
Well, did you see the little stutter step too there? I mean, you fake right, then you go left. I mean, he's a big dude. That's a good move right there.
Nimble-footed.
And you got to love that, and especially with his size. So Averett, 2 wide receivers. Tight end
back in the game, and they'll give it to him. And now Bowman fighting his way for 9 yards. And, Davin, if you're a defense and you can't stop the run game, you're going to have trouble because now they can play action. They can just drop back and throw it. They can literally do whatever they want. You cannot give up 9-yard run gains on a first down.
You can, and it allows Averett to eat the clock too.
Absolutely.
And when you're down by 2 possessions, that's huge.
Back to Bowman we go. Another, 6-yard gain there.
About 6 yards, 5 or 6.
And to your mention of killing the clock, the Cougars already used 2.5 minutes of that clock since they've been at the 50.
And, of course, the clock does stop as the ball is being reset for a first down. But it starts as soon as the ball is set.
Back to Bowman we go. Another 6-yard gain.
And Bowman just taking a leapfrog right there.
So, Bowman a couple carries. Bowman out, Hilton in.
And I tell you, the way Hilton has run tonight, that might be a pattern for Averett moving forward here, as Hilton is a big dude down there.
And we talked about a trio of running backs to open the half, but Hilton really showing, I did say, a quad of running backs that you have to worry about.
It really is, and really Hilton a lot more, definitely your prototypical fullback size, maybe even tight end size, but definitely not your running back prototype. But he's showing that that really doesn't matter here.
12:31 Cougars, and no rush at all. Methodist stacking the box, doing anything they can to stop the run, and Hilton will have none of it as he will get another
maybe 3 yards. Not bad, and that was a little run to the outside. And, Eddie, that was one thing we were talking about earlier in the game is the fact of if Averett can do a lot of east to west running instead of focusing so much on north to south, that they can be a very dangerous squad.
And we're giving a lot of praise to the running backs, but the 5 guys up front, the O-line, and Miles with the keeper, a little dancing, and he will get down to about the 2-yard line. But the 5 guys up front are absolutely playing phenomenal, blocking their tails off up there on the line. Bowman went up over 100 yards rushing, and Hilton has – you got to think he's got about 30 yards on about 6 carries. Not bad himself.
And then Miles with the big run right there for about 10.
And I know Hilton came off. Not sure who the back was. I think that's Bowman. We tried to get Bowman up and over. 2nd and goal on the 1. Averett packed in tight. They do have 2 receivers split out to the right.
And how about that little corner route right now, Eddie? Got Bennett in motion.
They're going to go back to Bowman here. And Bowman will put it in the end zone. Bowman's 3rd or 4th touchdown of the evening.
Bowman has now accounted for all 4 Averett scores on the evening, 27-6. And I don't want to speak too soon, but I think that might be the backbreaker right there for Methodist as they now trail by 21. Westbury's PAT pending, trying to make it a 22-point game right now. And this is Averett's most complete performance of the season by far.
Snap handled well by Holder, and Noah ran. It was up high and behind him, but he was able to get it and put it down. Noah ran, good hold, Cole, good kick. 28-6, and Bowman taking his all-time touchdown total from 22 to 26 in one game.
And I tell you one thing, the kid is money. I mean, he is money. If you took him to Vegas right now, I would have him play every single thing. I'd have him play blackjack, the slots, the whole 9 yards, because the kid is money. That's his. You know, Johnny Manziel had the dollar sign thing. Well, maybe that needs to be Bowman's new thing.
Kicking team of Averett steps onto the field. And like you said, a very good crowd here.
So Eddie with
Danville Stadium.
with Bowman's performance today too. He's now pushing 1,800 career yards here at Averett. I mean, absolutely phenomenal young man. He's a great kid. Comes from a great family. Averett getting hyped down on the sideline.
Cole Westbury going to look to put it in the end zone again. I don't think it'll make it. It is called about the 17.
Oh.
Methodist player hit, spun out of it, stayed on his feet, but he was up.
So Easter on the return. Looked like he got about 14 there. There's a huddle around the play. I wonder if we had a possible fumble. Did not see the ball come loose from up here.
Well, after all of the hoopla, it's going to be ball down on the 25 for Methodist.
Fresh at 10.
The ball hawking defense of Averett back onto the field.
And Averett right now just 7 takeaways. 4 games. I mean, you come in averaging almost 2 takeaways a game. I mean, that's impressive, Eddie.
And Davin, we mentioned earlier, you win the turnover battle and you win special teams, then you're likely to win the game. And Averett has been showing that as there's an end around there carried by Josh Carter. It didn't go far, but it went positive.
Little wide receiver end around, and you got to like that. Creative play calling from the Methodist offensive coaching staff, who's actually in the booth right next to us calling the game.
Well, you have to, in times like this, it's time now to get creative, pull those things out the playbook that you practice maybe once or twice a week, but it's a heave at the end zone here.
And the Monarchs, they have a lot of pride. They're just not going to sit down and just play to kill the clock, to kill the final 10 minutes. I mean, they're going to keep trucking. They're going to keep going. I mean, by no means does Averett had this game slowed up yet. Still 10 minutes with the number of turnovers, the fumbles, the defensive and special teams plays we've seen tonight. It's not an insurmountable deficit for the Monarchs, and they're going to keep playing until that clock hits 0-0. Pass completed for a first down, flag on the play. Looked like it was number 5, Dylan Cummings on the catch. About a gain of 12, but we're going to see what the flag is. It was thrown upfield. So we'll see exactly what the penalty is. The referee's down discussing it. And it's going to go against Averett. And I think the penalty will have a hold against the Cougars. So they'll pick up 12 yards, plus they're going to move it up another 10. So roughly about a 22-yard gain there for the Monarchs. And that's going to get them right at about Averett's territory on the 42.
Shotgun formation, trips left for the Monarchs. Play action, pump. And ball came out. There is laundry on the field, and Davin, those will be holding flags.
I think that's got to be a holding flag.
And therefore, with Averett recovering the fumble, Coach Adams will politely decline those penalties, and he will take the ball.
Well, and it was number 53 for the Cougars that ended up making that big play, forcing it. James Counts. Blackstone, Virginia, and Eddie, that being out there, being in Southwest Virginia, those guys are the size of refrigerators. I played soccer against a lot of those guys out in Southwest Virginia, and, traditionally soccer players very lanky, not exactly thick people. But I tell you one thing, those guys out there, they eat their greens. They eat their veggies.
And McCracken landed and hit on Bowman there. McCracken hit so hard, knocked his own helmet off. McCracken finally delivering a hit of his own after taking a few hits.
And taking a few hits he has. So it's going to be second down and about 12 on the 38-yard line.
Bennett in motion all the way across the field. And Miles will go deep to Bennett. He's running by himself, and he caught it. But that's great defense from the cornerback to get a hand in there after being beat down the sideline.
And not even a great play to get his hand in there, but a great play to even keep up with to keep up with Bennett in the first place, because he is such a speedy guy, Eddie. I remember seeing him play at GW here in Danville, and he's really a tough guy to defend. So it's going to be second and long now for the Cougars. Ball at the 38-yard line, second and 13 official.
Miles, roll out right. And Miles spins away from the pressure, and now he will run for some. Dancing around, and he will get down after getting the first down.
A 14-yard pickup right there, and Miles doing his best Michael Jackson performance right there. And I tell you one thing, you couldn't choreograph a move like that any better, as it was just a big play right there.
And almost Lamar Jackson-esque to get away from the pressure and get out. So Miles back again. He will give it to Bowman. Bowman will get in the end zone again.
23 yards out, 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns for Bowman.
This is absolutely a stunning performance by running back Sean Bowman. 5 touchdowns. The O-line coach, much congratulations to you. Coach Johnson, keep feeding this man the ball. 5 touchdowns in one game. He's up over 200 yards now. Westbury back to put the extra point in. Good snap, hold, and kick. 35-6 is your score. Averett out in front.
So Eddie, we're going to check the record books here, but we believe that Bowman has now tied the program record for most touchdowns in a game with 5, accounting for all 5 of Averett's scores. And I tell you one thing, Eddie, this is the most complete game I have seen an Averett football team play in my 3.5 years over here at Averett.
And and Averett's offense is always predicated on running the ball and quick passes, and sometimes the O-line shows up. Some days they don't do it, but today they have played well over expectations, and they have been able to get Bowman 5 touchdowns. So congratulations to Coach Harry John, the O-line coach, and the 5 guys up front playing O-line, blocking for this guy. Bowman, you're going to take these guys out for a dinner.
I tell you one thing, he better.
This is a career day for him.
And Bowman, once again, and we just got this in. It's actually Kyle Wilson holds the record for rushing touchdowns in a game with 6 in 2005. So,
and Davin, I expect Bowman to tie that with 8:25 left in the game as the Monarchs return the ball out.
But at the same time, Eddie, you've got a 29-point lead right now, 8:20 left in the game. Do you even send Bowman back in?
Not sure. I wouldn't personally. I would keep Hilton and Bigelow in the game. It's the perfect time to get the freshmen, get valuable carries with 10 minutes worth of play time left. I would put Hilton and Bigelow back in. I would sub out my entire starters. No need to, risk anything here. Got a very good lead, a commanding lead. And barring anything happens
anything miraculous, you know. But, I mean, you know, you've got to give it to Methodist. One thing that I've been very impressed with Methodist is they've kept their composure. You know, there's been a few silly, unsportsmanlike penalties that have resulted in first downs and big gains for Averett. But, you know, other than that, Methodist, they keep digging, man. I mean, they're not giving up. They're not hanging their heads. They're not arguing amongst each other, at least that we can see. And, you know, when you're down by 29 points, I mean, that's got to be that's a good sign of your team, for your team.
Oh. And almost an interception there from the big guys on the D-line. Way to get your hands up.
And, Eddie, I tell you, if Averett keeps playing this way the rest of the season, I think the only team that would really even be able to come close to touching them would be Huntington. I think, you know, your LaGrange isn't going to be able to keep up with them. I don't think Greensboro would be able to keep up with them. And what a tackle. I tell you one thing right there. That was number 55, Nicholas Brown, laying the wood.
Someone forgot to block him.
And you don't forget Brown. He is tenacious as they come. And, of course, Eddie, we were talking about the last home game. Brown actually 2 years ago found out he had Hodgkin's lymphoma, same time that James Conner and Eric Berry did. Came back, went through his treatments, 12 treatments, 6-month period, and is back on the field. And, I mean, just an amazing young man. Averett runs what's called a BAM philosophy here, be a man, and he fits into that perfectly.
Nice screenplay, and I think that ball might have hit the ground. I don't know. That's Tyreek Abel coming up with it. It might have bounced out of the receiver's hands and into his, but no, the referees say it's just an incomplete pass. So at 4th and 13, punt team comes on for Methodist. And Davin, if I'm Methodist, I do what we said that Averett did. I get my starters off the field at 35-6. No need to risk anything. You take this one and you go 0-2 in conference, and you come back and come back Monday evening at practice, and you change something up. There's no need to risk something here. 0-2 is something you could definitely come back. Kevin Norcott.
And what a hit. Laid down by Methodist, and I think he knocked himself out on that, as we've got 2 or 3 players down.
And Nicholas Mintz delivered a hit. The person he hit is stuck to the turf right now. Nicholas Mintz delivering an absolute bomb of a hit.
And we're going to try to see who that was down. I think it was Pitts. He is up and walking off the field, but Pitts, I don't know so much how much of it was a tackle or how much they just ran into each other. But either way, if that play is not made, Norcott is in the end zone right now. It's 41-6.
Absolutely. And like you said, Methodist delivering a hit, and Nicholas Mintz delivering an amazing crackback block.
Crackback is definitely the word, Eddie. I like that a whole lot, because I tell you that both of them, I think, are going to feel that in the morning. But I think we are going to have a unsportsmanlike on the Cougars. A 15-yard penalty, moving back to the Methodist 49-yard line.
Looks like we have Eubanks in as well as Wiles, and they will give it to Wiles. Wiles finding some space on the edge himself. A 9-yard pickup from Wiles.
So, Eddie, do you think Coach Cleve Adams and his staff have their focus on the running game in the future?
I wouldn't change it. I'd be highly surprised if they changed their game plan after tonight's game. But the thing is to not get complacent. You don't want to get complacent because teams do watch film on you, and they do pick up on tendencies, so you will not always have this success running the ball. So you do have to change some things up here and there, but I think the offense will still be predicated on running the ball.
Yes, it definitely will. And so the Cougars with the first down, it didn't really look like Eubanks got it, but we saw the clock stop up there, and that was enough to let us know it was a first down. So Eubanks under center. Wiles in the backfield. Wiles with the handoff, and he's going to get maybe about one if he's lucky, maybe just back to the line of scrimmage, the original line of scrimmage. And I tell you one thing, Coach Adams, I've been here for a while, Eddie. Worked over here for 3 seasons as an assistant sports information director. And, really, last week was the first time that I've seen Coach Cleve Adams truly happy with his team's performance against Fairman. They've carried that into this game against Methodist.
And Wiles again, feeding the man the ball. 5:50 left in this ball game. 3rd and 9 coming up, or 3rd and about 7 actually. And I mean, if you wanted to, you could pass the ball. The Monarchs are really stacking the box. They're running man coverage on the outside. You can get Eubanks some throw-in time, but there's really no need to. And they do play action. They will test this coverage. And I thought it might have been called, and I thought I might have seen a flag come out on maybe a pass interference.
Well, there was definitely a little contact there as it was DeMonte Bray battling for the ball.
There was roughing the passer actually back here in Averett's backfield.
And I guess that's why we didn't see the flag on the pass interference down there, or at least the hold. So that is Methodist's second roughing the passer penalty today, and that's going to move it down to the Averett Methodist 22-yard line. And this Averett sideline right now is showing a lot of joy, as it should, as the Cougars are just 5:22 away from going 2-0 in the USA South for the first time under head coach Cleve Adams' tenure.
And that is Chris Francis, number 25, the sophomore running back.
And Methodist University, Kevin Williams, in just his second season as it was, as Goss did leave a couple of years back. Methodist has been going through some turmoil. We hope they are able to get a lot of that figured out and a lot of that stuff reset.
Eubanks will keep it, snatched it away from Francis. He'll pick up about 4.
And I think in the game last year against Methodist in Fayetteville, I believe Eubanks actually had about 8 carries for 50 yards, I believe. Eubanks has got a lot of potential. He's a great quarterback. I think one thing that he definitely could use to work on a little bit more is his presence out of the pocket and maybe not try to force situations.
Averett, shotgun here, like an ace formation almost. Eubanks will milk the play clock. And again, they are in no rush. Play action. Slant will be intercepted by the Monarchs.
I believe it was number 13, Eddie?
I believe so.
I believe it was Gerard Nobles, the 5'9" freshman out of Pensacola, Florida, coming through with the INT for the Monarchs. We'll give Methodist the ball back one more time, albeit deep in their territory. They will start from about their own 12. Or no, excuse me, their own 7. I apologize. 3:58 remaining, 35-6. If things hold up, Averett will move to 10-8 all-time in the series. 5-4 when this game is played at Averett. It will be head coach Cleve Adams' 4th consecutive victory over the Monarchs. And it will also be Averett's first home victory of the season and will give them their 2nd USA South Conference victory of the year. And Eddie, seeing how LaGrange does this weekend, LaGrange and Huntington, right now Averett's got a very real shot. And there's a run up the middle, nothing going. But Averett right now with this win, they would be on top. So we've kind of got things winding down a little bit here, Eddie, so we're going to take a look here at the series matchup. It was Methodist winning the first contest 51-2. They won the second one 30-6. Third one 43-0. Averett picked up their first win in 2003, 21-14. Methodist 2004, 36-34. there again in 2005, 29-28. So you see a lot of back and forth between a lot of close games, followed by blowouts.
And that bomb finds no one. It finds the midfield painting of our Averett University Cougar.
And, Eddie, we look here, 2011, 2012, it was Averett 28-21 over Methodist in overtime here at Averett. And then Averett traveled to Fayetteville the next season. And, of course, it went down to double overtime then with Methodist picking up a 33-27 victory over the Cougars. So Methodist will punt. 2:48. Eddie, as a coach, you almost, and here's what could be a big return. It will be a decent one in the end. The ball is out to the 43. But Eddie, not Brandon Hunt. Sorry about that.
24, Devontae Russell on the pickup there for the punt return. Nice couple of jump cuts here and there.
So, Eddie, at this point in the game, if you're Cleve Adams, you almost kind of hate getting the ball back with 2.5 minutes left to burn, because those are extra plays you have to run, extra bodies that you have to throw out there, and you almost kind of just wish you could have gotten the ball back with time to kneel 3 times and then get out of here.
Absolutely, but they're going to run this ball, then they're going to not run a play again until the 2-minute warning.
And I believe we have a timeout on the field. And we are going to take it with them, Methodist with the timeout. So we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in about a minute and a half here on the Averett Sports Network.
And we are back here at Averett Sports Network after the quick timeout. 2:38 remaining. DeMonte Bray motioned across, handoff to Wiles. Wiles fights for about a 6-yard gain. Things getting chippy down there.
And that's not what you want to see as a coach. Your guys have got to keep their heads in the game. And I know Methodist is frustrated right now. They played hard, they fought hard, but you've got to be able to keep your composure and keep your head in the game and be the type of student athlete that represents your school in a positive way.
This is Wiles trying to find something, but finds nothing. And that was number 54, Jonathan Eggers, there on that last play, kind of getting heated. And he is a freshman, so you got to think they've not won many games so far his freshman year. He's just looking for something to come out. So like you say, he's probably just frustrated, but you've got to understand, it's not the end of the season.
No, it's not.
There's a lot of football to be played, and things can take a turn for the best quick.
They can, and, Methodist has played some quality competition. They had the regular season game against the mid-major D1, or the mid-major Campbell.
And that's Chris Francis finding a crease.
About 13 yards, it looked like, Eddie. And Averett first down, so minute 32. So Averett will more than likely run a couple of more plays, get the clock down to about a minute, and then just go ahead and kneel it out and celebrate this victory. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you stay with us here directly following the game. We will have the Buffalo Wild Wings post-game show. Eddie Glenn and I will be on here as we've been all night. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing this game to you for both sides. We appreciate you tuning in with us on the Averett Sports Network. We realize that you could have been a whole lot of other places, especially on a Saturday night, and a beautiful Saturday night as it is. But you have decided to stick here with us, and we greatly appreciate it. And once again, you can keep up with all of Averett's action on averettcougars.com, as the fall season is now just hitting its midway point.
Chris Francis padding the stats here.
And Eddie, this is your second year with us, and I think you can definitely attest to the fact that fall is the busiest time of year here at Averett University.
Absolutely. Men's and women's soccer, volleyball, football,
men's and women's cross country. You've got tennis's non-traditional season. Golf has a non-traditional season in the fall. So, and ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it, as both of these teams are just going to come out and congratulate each other. So Averett will move to 2-0 in the USA South Conference for the first time in Cleve Adams' 4-year tenure here at Averett, with a dominating 35-6 victory. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break here on the Averett Sports Network, but when we come back, we will have the Buffalo Wild Wings postgame show, so keep it locked down like a bike lock here on ASN. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Frank R. Campbell Stadium, Daly Field here at Averett University's North Campus in beautiful Danville, Virginia. And Eddie, it was a beautiful night for Averett fans out here tonight as the Cougars cruise to a 35-6 win on Danville Appreciation Day. And I tell you one thing, Danville and Averett will appreciate Sean Bowman tonight if they didn't already. Sean Bowman, 5 rushing touchdown performance. One shy of tying the school record, Eddie. One shy.
And that takes his career total to 27 from 22 previously before the game, up to 27 now, closing in on being first all-time career touchdowns and first all-time career yards. Sitting at second all-time yards now, pushing, like you said, 1,800. Bowman, possibly the best running back in Averett football history.
He's definitely right up there, right up there with Travis Jones and, former player Travis Jones. And, I mean, the kid is just a monster. I mean, he doesn't stop. You see him down there. He's a big guy. I patted him on the back yesterday or last week when I was down on the field at Averett, or down on the field after the Ferrum game. And I swear he was still in his full pads, and I thought I had broken my hand. So, I mean, the guy he's an absolute beast, and, he showed it tonight, and he showed why, he is the program leader.
Absolutely. And not just Bowman, but, again, congratulations to Coach John and the offensive line. Absolutely stunning performance from them. They put on a blocking showcase. If you're a youth football coach, I suggest you take this film, chop it up, and you show your offensive young guys this clip because they blocked their tails off today and allowed Bowman to have 5 touchdowns and over 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, not a bad day at the ballpark too. And talking about the offensive line, you've got to credit the defensive line just as much too for what they did. Really stopping Deers, and stopping this potent Methodist attack. So, hats go off all around. Treason Burnett, Coach Cleve Adams, David Clark. I mean, David Clark deserves Coach Adams at least needs to take him to Outback, needs to take him somewhere because David Clark has absolutely been a special teams mastermind the last 2 weeks. So, well, Eddie, that is going to do it for us here, and folks back home, that's going to do it for us here at Daly Field. We're going to run. We're going to go to Kickback Jacks or somewhere and celebrate this Averett victory. And, ladies and gentlemen, so once again, your final score, Averett University 35, Methodist 6. And we're back in action here next week as the Cougars take on, I believe it is NC Wesleyan. I believe that is. No, it's actually LaGrange. And, it was LaGrange with the 39-30 victory over Methodist last week. So, with those kind of results, it's going to be interesting to see how Methodist does. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for keeping it locked here on the Averett Sports Network. It's been a pleasure bringing you the games on the 1s and 2s. I'm sure Mr. Eddie Glenn Jr., the man, the myth, the legend, the incomparable. It's been a pleasure broadcasting with you, sir, and hope to see you again next Saturday.
Thank you, and thank you, fans, for joining us, and everybody in the SID department. I'm Eddie Glenn, and have a good night.